Hi, welcome to my channel. The full version of the audiobook is available on my Patreon. You can quickly find it through the link in my profile description. Thank you for your support.
Chapter 1: A Pirated CD. Boss, how much is this disc? Tongfan asked the vendor in a muffled voice, holding a pirated copy of Football Manager 07, FM 07, disc in his hand while licking a chocola in his hand. 10 yuan. The vendor was engrossed in reading a novel called The Godfather of Champions, not even looking up, and impatiently uttered two words. Fuck, selling pirated DVDs and land so arrogantly. I want it. Tongfan inwardly scoffed, pulled a crumpled bill from his shorts, threw it onto the stall with an air of self-righteousness, grabbed the CD, and disappeared in a flash. The vendor reluctantly put down his book, picked up the money Tongfan had thrown into the pile of CDs, and after a long while unfolding it, he immediately burst into a tirade of curses. Huh. $5. Damn, you bastard, don't let me ever see you again. It turned out that what Tongfan still had on the ground was just a 5 yuan banknote. The vendor cursed and swore for a while, then suddenly revealed a lewd smile. Hee, no matter how cunning you are, you still have to drink my foot bath water. This dish only costs 5 cents, and I'll still make $4.50 off you. I made a profit. I never imagined a pirated disc could be pirated so professionally. Tongfan returned home and quickly installed Football Manager on his second-hand IBM T30 laptop. To his surprise, he found that the pirated disc he had bought for 5 yuan contained all the patches and all the latest data released by the game company. In addition, it also included FM, data editor, and the latest version of the scouting tool. Cool. After 15 minutes, everything was set up. Tongfan excitedly tapped the game icon on the screen, and the game officially began. Welcome to the world of football games. The familiar voice of CCTV's renowned anchor Huang Jianxian came through, and the opening scene gradually unfolded. Huh. How are they different? Tongfan was surprised to find that the game's start screen was quite different. Familiar football stars flashed across the screen. It was so realistic, it was just like real people. Did I buy a high-end item for $5? Never mind, Tongfan excitedly began setting up the game. Choose a country. The Spanish football scene has been quite lively lately, I'll choose that. League level. Damn, do you even need to ask? Of course it's La Liga. Only an idiot would play in the Segunda División. Coaching a club? I'll choose Real Madrid. I heard that when you choose this club, the computer gives you a lot of transfer fees at the beginning, enough to buy several superstar players and young talents, and enjoy several seasons of fun. Coach's name? Age? Nationality? Tongfan honestly filled in his information in detail. Tongfan, 1984, China. Many people who play FM tend to use random nicknames, but Tongfan doesn't do that. Only by filling in his real information can he feel the connection and truly enjoy the experience. Once everything is set up, a prompt box pops up on the screen. Do you want to select personal binding? Huh. Why is this popping up? I've used the FM 07 series before, and it never showed a similar prompt. What's going on? Tongfan thought for a moment, then decided to ignore it. He figured he might actually get his hands on a high-end hard drive. He then clicked the mouse. Yes. Whoosh. The moment the mouse clicked, Tongfan suddenly felt dizzy, his vision went completely white, and it seemed as if a lot of things rushed into his brain. I shook my head, finally feeling a bit better. Damn, looks like I've been having a bit too much of a friendship with my hands lately. It's making my kidneys weak. I need to be more careful these next few days, or I'll age prematurely. All options are set, finally get into the game. The main page's news section displays two recent news items. Fan Tong Li has taken on the hot potato of our Madrid. The our Madrid board confirmed today that Fan Tong Li's name will soon be printed on the door of head coach Santiago Bernabeu's office. The Chinese-born Fan Tong said he is very much looking forward to the challenges he will face at Madrid and has already focused his attention on the next match against Mallorca. Damn it. What a tragedy. Fan Tong Li. Li the good-for-nothing. Li Tongfan then realized that according to English conventions, the first name is usually placed first, followed by the surname, but if his name were reversed, it would become. Okay, bad idea, bad idea. Li Tongfan didn't want to reload the database and change the name again. He'd just have to accept it. Next, read the next message, a private letter from the president of Real Madrid. This is the most important part. It shows how much transfer fee Calderon, that balding old man, gave him. Our Madrid chairman Ramon Calderon welcomes you to Santiago Bernabeu. He hopes you will adopt a prudent approach to managing the club and employ a wise strategy in the transfer market to ensure its long-term development. Ramon Calderon announces that the transfer budget for this season will reach £6.89 million, and the team's wage budget for next season will reach £1.9 million. According to the terms of your contract with the club, you have been awarded a contract worth £44,000 per week, expiring in June 2007. Fuck. Only a transfer fee of £6.9 million. After reading the news, Li Tongfan cursed, £6,900,000 is nothing. It can't even buy Kaká's star player. I was hoping to use all the transfer fees to throw Kaká over the top. What to do? How about starting a new game? Maybe the computer will give a higher transfer fee based on random probability. But, it's too much trouble. Li Tongfan is someone who hates trouble. Got it. Doesn't that CD come with an FM data editor? Just use it to change the transfer fee amount, right? But, wouldn't that lower the game's difficulty? Forget it, I won't change it. 6,980,000 it is. I'll just use it to buy a few cute little devils with negative potential and raise them. That should be enough. Just as Li Tongfan was about to open his scouting tools to search for a few promising young talents, his phone rang, and a childish voice called out. Master, the phone is ringing, why aren't you answering it? Who the hell is calling at this hour? Disturbing my game. Li Tongfan answered the phone impatiently. Who the hell is it? Spit it out. The person on the other end of the phone. Oh. A party and dinner. Huh, great. Where is it? I'm coming right away. After receiving the phone call, Li Tongfan, who was in a bad mood, suddenly felt incredibly happy. Someone was treating him to dinner, how could he not be happy? I just got fired from my job a few days ago, and my rent is almost due. I'm so broke I can't even afford to eat, and I was on the verge of becoming homeless when a college classmate suddenly invited me to dinner. It's like a pillow being handed to me when I was sleepy. After exiting the game and shutting down his computer, Li Tongfan hopped on his second-hand mountain bike, which he had been riding for 6 years since college, and excitedly headed to the party location. Chapter 2 Please coach Real Madrid. As dusk settles in. As the international metropolis of TD entered its most leisurely and bustling time of day, Li Tongfan, returning from a gathering, lay in his small rented room of less than 20 square meters, cursing angrily. Fuck you, you filthy, foreign-worshipping bitch. Lying flat on the bed with his feet up, Li Tongfan was still furious after downing 3 bottles of beer. Recalling the scene at the gathering today, Li Tongfan felt like a little cat was scratching at his heart, wishing he could find a punching bag, hang it up, and beat it up to vent his anger. Hey, isn't this our talented Li? How come you're still riding such a beat-up bicycle after working for 2 years? Li, the talented scholar, where are you working now? Oh. You resigned, or were you fired? I'm going abroad soon, to Spain. Let me introduce you, this is my fiancé, Leon, a Spanish construction contractor. I'm telling you, you're not young anymore, how come you're still single? Luckily, we were together back then. In front of many university classmates, this woman, who was once Li Tongfan's first love, held her chin high, her snow-white neck as delicate as a swan's, her charming eyes full of disdain, nestled in the arms of her tall and strong Spanish fiancé Leon, and casually humiliated Li Tongfan with one sentence after another. Li Tongfan's face was ashen. His classmates around him were chatting and laughing. Only a few of his close friends came over, glared at the woman, patted Li Tongfan on the shoulder, and pulled him aside. Li Tongfan remained silent. Poverty breeds contempt, and any rebuttal would only invite endless ridicule from the other party, especially since what they said was the truth. Lying in bed, Li Tongfan couldn't help but get up and drink 2 more cans of Tsingtao beer as the vicious mockery of his first love, Huang Liden, kept replaying in his mind. He then drifted off to sleep. You bitch, you'll regret this. Li Tongfan decided to start looking for a job and earning money tomorrow. He couldn't continue living aimlessly, he had to live like a man. Bang bang bang. Bang 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 bang. A series of urgent knocks on the door pulled the drowsy Li Tongfan back from his dream. Could it be the landlord? A thought flashed through Li Tongfan's mind, and he was instantly wide awake. He had been behind on rent for more than 10 days, and it must be that fat woman coming to collect the rent again. With a sigh, Li Tongfan scrambled to his feet, splashed cold water on his face, and in that fleeting quarter of an hour, mentally drafted 4 or 5 excuses to deal with the fat landlady. He forced a smile that looked more like a grimace and cautiously opened the door. 2 blonde, blue-eyed foreigners in suits stood outside the door. Don't you know any foreigners? Did you ask the wrong person? Damn it. You're disturbing my sleep. Li Tongfan's smile faded, and he was about to close the door and go back to sleep when the foreigner closest to the door reacted quickly, pushing the door open and peeking his blonde head through the crack, politely asking in broken Chinese. Excuse me, are you Mr. Rice Bucket? You're the idiot. Li Tongfan was furious. Just because you're a foreigner doesn't mean you can curse people. If it weren't for the fact that these 2 guys were tall and strong, Li Tongfan might have immediately taken out all the anger he suffered at the party yesterday on these 2 unfortunate foreigners. There are no gluttons here. If you need to find a glutton, please call 110. Li Tongfan huffed and puffed, shoving the foreigner out and slamming the door shut. Fuck, you damn foreigner, daring to insult me. However, fate has decreed that today will be the most extraordinary day in Li Tongfan's life. So when he was half asleep until almost 10 o'clock, there was another knock on the door. Bang 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 bang. I jumped up and opened the door, and damn it, it was those 2 foreigners again. Are you ever going to stop? Or I'll sue you for sexual harassment. Li Tongfan was furious and was about to slam the door when a young man in his mid-20s with a buzz cut jumped out from behind the foreigner, grabbed his black briefcase, kicked the door open, rushed in, pinned Li Tongfan to the bed, grabbed his neck, and screamed in utter hatred. I'm going to strangle you, you bastard who forgot his mother after finding a wife. Fuck, I'll kill him. Li Tongfan was halfway through uttering a curse word when he suddenly realized that the man with the buzz cut riding on him with a resentful expression was actually an acquaintance, his college classmate Fan Zhuang. Didn't you go to Spain to be a football reporter? What are you doing back here? Li Tongfan tidied up his messy little room and invited his old classmate to sit down and talk. The 2 foreigners, grinning foolishly, squeezed in. They seemed to be acquaintances of Fan Zhuang. Damn, I should be asking you that. How did you suddenly become the head coach of Real Madrid? Are you a monkey? Sun Wukong with 72 transformations. Fan Zhuang's eyes were wide open like copper bells. He looked at Li Tongfan as if he were looking at an alien, and he was so excited that he was trembling all over. What? The Real Madrid head coach? Li Tongfan was taken aback. He immediately got up, found a cup, poured himself a glass of hot water, and then began rummaging through the drawers. What are you doing? Fan Zhuang asked, bewildered. You still have a few ibuprofen tablets left over from your last fever. Drink them quickly and lie down to rest here for a while. I'll go call the doctor for you. Thank you. Fan Zhuang replied subconsciously, then suddenly realized what was happening, rushed over and kicked Li Tongfan to the ground. I'm not sick, you've really become the head coach of Real Madrid. Sitting comfortably on the leather sofa in the living room of room 1201 at the Sheraton, the most luxurious 5-star hotel in TD City, Li Tongfan felt as if he were having an absurd dream. Why? If you were like Li Tongfan, who, after graduating from university, worked at a rundown advertising company for less than 2 years before being fired for discovering your boss and his mistress having intimate contact in the office, becoming unemployed and so poor that you couldn't even afford the 250 yuan monthly rent, and then someone suddenly told you that you would become the head coach of Real Madrid, the greatest club on the planet in the 21st century, you would be just as at a loss as Li Tongfan is now. Is this not a scam? This was Li Tongfan's first reaction upon hearing the news. However, after Fan Zhuang and the two foreigners drove him to the five-star Sheraton Hotel in a Mercedes-Benz and showed him all the documents and contracts, he realized, well, this seems, possibly, to be for real. The foreign representative was named Carlos Bucero, reportedly the vice general manager of Real Madrid. His group of 6 was responsible for the signing of the head coach. As for the senior journalist Fan Zhuang, as the chief sports reporter of Sohu Sports Channel stationed in Madrid, he has had a lot of dealings with Real Madrid in the past 2 years. Therefore, since the head coach is Chinese, club vice president Carlos Bucero invited him to handle the liaison matters for convenience. Of course, none of these are the problems. The most important thing is, how could such an absurd thing happen? Chapter 3: The Absurd Contract. Why would a super club like Real Madrid be interested in someone like me who has never even been involved in professional football? Fuck, today isn't April Fool's Day. Tongfan couldn't understand. 6 foreigners, plus his old classmate Fan Zhuang, were all staring intently at Tongfan, who was sitting on the sofa, waiting for his decision. Feeling completely lost, Tongfan sat on the sofa, ruffling his already messy hair into a bird's nest, and subconsciously asked, "I don't have a coaching license." "That's not a problem, Mr. Rice Bucket, you have it." Carlos Bucero waved his hand, and another slightly balding foreigner handed over a stack of certificates. Fuck. Tongfan, being a top student from a prestigious university, quickly realized after a few glances that the foreigner's certificate was indeed issued by FIFA, a globally recognized coaching qualification. The unbelievable thing was, the sign above was actually his own name. Holy crap, are Martians going to invade Earth? Am I crazy, or is the whole world crazy? Did FIFA President Blatter get his head stuck in their door? Tongfan swore on his still-developing penis that he had never attended any of those damn training courses, so where did this stack of C-level, B-level, and A-level coaching qualification certificates with his name on them come from? Could it be that these foreigners are faking it? It's surprising that even foreigners are proficient in certificate processing, a business that's purely Chinese populism. The foreigner took a contract, in duplicate, which stated that Real Madrid was willing to offer Tongbiam a 1-year head coach contract with a weekly salary of £44,000, and was also willing to give Tongbiam a transfer fee of approximately £7 million to purchase players. Once Tongfan signs it, the most mysterious and unpredictable football signing in Earth's history will be born, a feat that will never be repeated. To sign or not to sign? That's a problem. Tongfan picked up his pen, bit his chin, and thought for a while. Looking at the terms of the contract, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind like lightning, and he seemed to have grasped something vaguely. Could it be because of that? Tongfan was stunned by his own conjecture. After pretending to think for a moment, Tongfan cautiously looked up and asked the foreigner who claimed to be the deputy general manager of Real Madrid, Carlos Bucero, "Can I take it home and take a look first, and then give you an answer in a few days?" Carlos Bucero looked at Tongfan with a puzzled expression. This guy didn't understand Chinese. The foreigner who had first appeared outside Tongfan's hut, speaking broken Chinese, quickly came over to translate for him. "No problem, Mr. Rice Bucket, but I hope you will make a decision as soon as possible, because the La Liga transfer window is almost open." After listening to his subordinate's translation, Carlos Bucero readily agreed, but he still tactfully reminded Tongfan to make a decision as soon as possible. Because once the transfer window opens, teams start buying and selling players, and the head coach's tactical requirements directly determine the team's goals in the transfer market. The head coach must be confirmed before the transfer window opens on July 1st. "Oh, no problem." Tongfan readily agreed, then grabbed the contract, feigned needing to urinate, declined the foreigner's invitation to dine together, and flew away from the Sheraton Hotel. Fan Zhuang also left with him. As a professional football journalist, his keen sense of smell led him to discover that he had caught a bombshell that would shock the world of football. Real Madrid hiring a relatively unknown rookie as head coach. This is definitely news that could cause a major earthquake in the football world. Therefore, he had to stay close to Tongfan. Has Mr. Calderon gone mad? Why did we hire this yellow-skinned pig as our head coach? Less than a second after Tongfan left the room, a handsome young man with chestnut hair among the foreigners couldn't help but ask. This question speaks for everyone. If Tongfan were present, he would also be intently awaiting the answer from deputy manager Carlos Bucero. Of course, before that, he wouldn't mind giving this racist young man who called himself a yellow-skinned pig a good beating. Garcia, I don't want to hear anyone badmouthing the chairman behind his back. Deputy manager Carlos Bucero gave the young man named Garcia a disapproving look, secretly noting it down. He would have to tell President Calderon when he got back why he had arranged for someone who wasn't a trusted confidant to join the club's sports department. But Garcia, clearly unaware of his mistake, continued to argue, his neck red. Did the president ignore Mr. Capello's existence just to find such an unknown Asian to succeed him? God, before today, who even knew this guy existed? Enough. Garcia, mind your place. Carlos Bucero was clearly angry. Although he also couldn't understand why the club's board of directors would make such an absurd decision, it was obviously not the time to discuss it. As the vice president whom Calderon had personally promoted after taking office, he had to uphold his superior's authority. The hot-blooded young Garcia didn't care about any of that. As the club's most loyal family member representative, I have the right to know the inside story. You betrayed the club's interests, this is definitely a conspiracy. After saying that, Garcia slammed the door and left. The foreigners left in the room all looked very unhappy. From any perspective, they are currently executing the most absurd and bizarre decision in the club's history. Whether they become a disgrace or a prophet, their life will be marked with a dramatic and unforgettable chapter. Moreover, judging from my first impression of Tongfan today, the possibility of him becoming a disgrace is approaching positive infinity. Tell me, what exactly happened? As soon as Fan Zhuang stepped out of the Sheraton Hotel, he cornered Tongfan in a secluded corner and began to torture him. I don't know either. Tongfan was telling the truth. Humph, if you don't believe me, tell me now. Or I'll strangle you. Reporter Fan began to threaten. All right, Tongfan said, forced into a corner, feigning a determined look, and said mysteriously, I can tell you the reason, but you must keep it a secret. Fan Zhuang's gossip blood was boiling. Ha ha ha, he was about to catch the most shocking football news of the century, and was about to become the most dazzling sports reporter on the planet. He suppressed his excitement and nodded his head like a chicken pecking at rice. Tongfan took a deep breath and said earnestly, actually, I am a cosmic Superman who has been silently protecting the Earth for over 10,000 years. Recently, I wanted to coach a team for fun, so I talked to Real Madrid President Calderon about it, and the old guy readily agreed. Fan Zhuang. After finally getting rid of Fan Zhuang, the professional gossip, Tongfan bought a few honey bread rolls at the supermarket at the entrance of the community and rushed back to his small house. I must carefully verify that shocking hypothesis in my mind. If the hypothesis comes true, then I'll be fucking rich. This is an opportunity to change the world of football. Chapter 4 Game manipulates reality. Tongfan eagerly turned on his computer, started FM 2007, and after a series of realistic images, the game officially began. First, take a good look at the terms of the head coach's contract in the game: 1-year term, weekly salary of £44,000, transfer fee of £6.89 million, and a salary cap of £1.9 million. Then, Tongfan opened the paper contract provided by the foreigners in the hotel and carefully translated the English terms: 1-year term, weekly salary of £44,000, transfer fee of £6.89 million, and salary cap of £1.9 million. All the terms and conditions are exactly the same, with no difference whatsoever. Fuck. Putting down the contract, Tongfan let out a long sigh of relief. He was slowly beginning to believe in his own judgment, but the conclusion was simply too unbelievable. Because Tongfan's conclusion is: everything that happens in this game will be completely recreated in reality. Although this conclusion is utterly absurd from both an innate rational perspective and acquired experience, there is no other reason to explain why Real Madrid would send a vice president all the way to China to sign this inexplicable head coach contract. Once the contract is signed, Real Madrid is legally bound, and in the event of a breach of contract, they will have to pay a substantial penalty. A penalty for breach of contract that Tongfan may never earn in his entire life. I doubt that old geezer Calderon would be so brain-dead as to send his trusted confidant Carlos Bucero from afar to deliver an irresistible sum of money to a complete stranger. This conclusion was so shocking that Tongfan decided to double-check. So he minimized the game screen, opened Baidu, and carefully searched for some recent information about Real Madrid. Sure enough, Real Madrid does have a vice-general manager named Carlos Bucero. After searching his photo on Baidu and comparing it carefully, I found that he looks exactly like the foreigner I met at the Sheraton Hotel today. The recently concluded 2005-06 season, Real Madrid, under the leadership of Brazilian coach Rosenberg, had a poor performance. Rosenberg was dismissed halfway through the season, and assistant coach Caro took over the team. Ultimately, Real Madrid only finished as runners-up in the league that season, being outdone by their old rivals Barcelona, led by Rijkaard, for the second consecutive year. This directly led to the resignation of club president Florentino Perez. The superstar strategy has failed, and the Galacticos are facing the crisis of sinking. After taking office, new President Calderon's top priority became finding a suitable head coach for the team. As the most successful club of the 20th century, Real Madrid is a symbol of success and honor, and countless world-class coaches are eager to coach this club. Of course, this information was not enough for Tongfan to fully confirm the absurd conclusion he had reached, so it was necessary to try one more trick before making the initial final choice. Open the game again and enter the main screen. At the same time, open FM Data Editor. Enter R.Madrid in the input box and click Search. The main screen of the data editor will then list all the players belonging to Real Madrid. Tongfan quickly scanned the list, selected Brazilian player Emerson, and double-clicked to enter Emerson's attribute interface. After a moment's thought, Tongfan changed Emerson's contract expiration date from June 30, 2009, to May 2006. This meant that in the game, Emerson was no longer a member of Real Madrid, as the game's timeline had already reached early July 2006. Emerson became a free agent after his data was modified. In the real world, Emerson played for Italian Serie A giants Juventus in the 2005-06 season. After the season ended, due to the Calciopoli scandal, Juventus was relegated to Serie B. As a star player in the team, Emerson chose to leave Juventus and join Real Madrid, signing a 3-year contract with a weekly wage of £40,500. In other words, Emerson had only been with Real Madrid for a few days in the real world. From any perspective, it is extremely absurd for someone to leave a team less than 10 days after joining. If the events in the game could actually happen in real life, then in a few days, international football news would break that Emerson, who had just joined Real Madrid, has left. Next, all Tongfan needs to do is wait. Waiting for this incredible thing to happen in reality in a bizarre way. For 3 days in a row, Tongfan did not contact the foreigners at the Sheraton Hotel. Apart from dealing with Fan Zhuang, a super enthusiastic gossip, he focused all his attention on the international football sections of well-known online media such as Sina and Sohu, waiting for this miracle to happen. However, until noon on the third day, there was not a single sign of trouble. Just as Tongfan was about to give up, the following news appeared on Sina's international football section. The unparalleled warrior bids farewell to Real Madrid, the Brazilian superstar returns to his roots. It's no exaggeration to say that Tongfan was incredibly excited, like a 60 or 70-year-old man having an epileptic seizure. His hand holding the mouse began to tremble, then he took a deep breath and clicked on the news article. Breaking news from our reporters: Brazilian superstar Emerson, who just joined this season and hasn't even played a single minute for Real Madrid, has reached an agreement with the club to terminate his contract as a free agent. This is truly a perplexing decision. We know that Emerson only joined Real Madrid on July 1 this year, and his total time playing for the club has been less than 10 days, setting a new record in world football. The reason for the termination is... Tongfan trembled for a long time before shakily pulling his phone from the bed and dialing the number of the foreigner, Carlos Bucero. Fuck, that's invincible. Sheraton Grand Hotel. Tongfan picked up a brown pen and signed his name on the contract with a flourish. Carlos Bucero was delighted, he had finally completed the task. To be honest, before coming to China, he never imagined that signing an unknown coach would be so difficult for a world-renowned club like Real Madrid. During the 3 days Tongfan didn't contact him, he even thought the collaboration would fail. Even if the failure of the cooperation only results in the loss of a rookie coach, it can be considered as avoiding financial loss in some ways. But what's the difference between a club like Real Madrid, which wasn't rejected by championship-winning coaches like Capello and Hiddink, but instead humiliated by a rookie, and a suave millionaire offering his sympathy to a beggar only to be slapped twice by the skinny beggar? I've gone off on a tangent. Mr. Glutton, we hope you can arrange your itinerary as soon as possible. We need to return to Madrid within 3 days to hold a press conference to announce your arrival. Okay, fine, he's a good-for-nothing, Li Tongfan admits it. As for when to go to Spain, Li Tongbiam doesn't care at all. Even though he possesses a super cheat code, one can still imagine the reaction from the world of football when they find out. Are Real Madrid's die-hard fans gathering in large numbers at the stadium or city square to protest? The Spanish and even world media, who showed no mercy, dug up their ancestral graves and viciously whipped their corpses. Domestic media outlets have been thrust into the eye of a storm of criticism from countless netizens with exaggerated reports such as, Chinese Dragon takes over Real Madrid, Galacticos enter the Red Era. Just think about how Wenger was mercilessly mocked by the English media when he moved from Japan to Arsenal, and you'll know that anything is possible. Therefore, after careful consideration and weighing the pros and cons, Li Tongbiam's self-positioning was very clear. Li Tongbiam, who possessed a super cheat code, did not ultimately aim to become a legend in the coaching world, but rather, he aimed for the £44,000 weekly wage offered by Real Madrid. In that case, keeping a low profile is essential. Chapter 5: The Riots at Madrid Airport. After saying goodbye to the foreigner, Li Tongfan returned to his residence and called his parents, who lived in a rural area thousands of miles away, to tell them that he might be away on a business trip for a long time, and to prepare them for the possibility of not being able to contact them for an extended period. The reason why he didn't explain his own situation was that Li Tongfan himself still couldn't fully grasp the connection between FM 2007 on the computer and reality. If this super powerful cheat device was unreliable, or worse, completely malfunctioning after a while, then he, the head coach, would probably just be a big-headed grasshopper in autumn, and wouldn't last long. So, telling them only made them worry more. It's not too late to show off when we can truly return home in glory. After making the call, I went to the China Construction Bank at the entrance of the community, exchanged the foreigner's advance weekly salary into RMB, and left the surprised, pure and pretty little lowly teller with a golden smile. Note, Li Tongfan solemnly reminds you, it's golden, the gold of gold, and took a taxi straight to the fat landlady's house. Amidst the fat woman's stunned gaze, Li Tongfan ostentatiously pulled out a thick stack of bright red 100 yuan bills, pulled out 2 from the middle, and handed them over. Finally, the overdue rent was settled. Although the rent for over 10 days was far less than 200 yuan, but we've got plenty of money now. Consider the extra a tip. This is a gift from the old man. Li Tongfan thoroughly enjoyed the pleasures of being rich and lewd. After doing all this, Li Tongfan called a few of his closest friends and invited them out to a nice, upscale restaurant for a delicious meal before they all dispersed. He didn't tell his friends about the strange things that had happened to him. If possible, it would remain a secret forever. Although Li Tongfan is lazy, he is a very opinionated person at heart. Madrid, the capital of Spain. Madrid is located in the central Meseta plateau of the Iberian Peninsula. It covers an area of 607 square kilometers, has a population of more than 3 million, and is at an altitude of more than 670 meters. It is the highest capital city in Europe and was once known as the Gateway to Europe due to its special geographical location. As a highly modern metropolis, Madrid has always been the political and economic center of Spain. Of course, none of these factors alone are enough to make it world famous. Madrid's fame largely stems from football. There are 3 Spanish La Liga teams here, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Getafe, a satellite city of Madrid. Real Madrid, in particular, has been voted one of the most successful clubs of the 20th century. It has successively brought in superstars such as Figo, Zidane, Beckham, and Ronaldo, along with local stars like Raúl and Guti. With its star-studded lineup, it has become a sacred place in the hearts of football fans all over the world. June 28, 2006, is a day destined to be recorded in the history of world football. The sky was clear and cloudless. The departure lounge at Madrid Airport. Carlos Ruben sat in a chair, a hamburger in one hand and a booklet full of photos in the other. A brand new professional camera hung around his neck. His sharp, narrow eyes were narrowed as he scanned the bustling hall, like a leopard poised to pounce and wait for its prey. As a fresh graduate from the University of Sport of Madrid, Carlos Ruben was so excited about being lucky enough to join the prestigious Spanish football media outlet Marca as an intern reporter that he couldn't sleep for days. Sure enough, less than 2 days after starting, he was sent by his alcoholic boss to stake out the Madrid airport terminal. He was not alone in quietly waiting around Madrid airport. The reason is simple: the international football transfer market will officially open on July 1st. Once the transfer market opens, major clubs will go all out to recruit and clear out players. Rumors are flying everywhere, and fans all over the world are eagerly awaiting the latest transfer news to find out the latest developments of their favorite teams or stars. This time of year is when football journalists' adrenaline levels are at their peak. Just imagine, if you could uncover first-hand information on all the big-name football transfers, promotions and raises would no longer be just a dream, everything would be within your grasp. What an enticing prospect. As a giant in international football, Real Madrid stirs up a storm in the transfer market every year. And Madrid Airport is the easiest place to find all the latest clues. Whether it's star players, agents, or club coaches, anyone connected to Real Madrid will immediately appear at Madrid's only international airport. Therefore, Madrid Airport has become the primary base for major football media outlets to spot their targets. Ruben quickly finished his hamburger, let out a burp, and casually tossed the napkin into the trash can next to him. Sigh, I haven't slept for 2 days and 2 nights, and I still haven't found anything. Ruben was about to lie down on the bench for a nap when he suddenly froze. Like a lion in heat spotting its mate, he stared intently at the passenger aisle. Wow, God, let me see who this is. Huh, Mr. Carlos Bucero, what's he doing here? Ruben watched as 7 or 8 men in suits and sunglasses emerged from the passenger terminal, and immediately recognized Carlos Bucero, the Real Madrid club's vice general manager, walking at the front. His professional instincts told him that a promotion and raise had arrived. Everyone knows that Carlos Bucero is searching for a head coach for the club, so why is he suddenly here? Ruben quickly opened his camera and snapped countless photos. Suddenly, an unfamiliar Asian face appeared in the shot, young and somewhat naive. Who is this person? A big question mark appeared in Ruben's mind. But that wasn't the time to think about it. While pondering it, he continued taking pictures without hesitation. Whoever it was, with these photos, no matter how much nonsense the newspapers spouted, it would attract a huge amount of attention. In just a few minutes, Ruben had used up the entire roll of film that had just been loaded into his camera. Other reporters who were waiting in the waiting hall of Madrid Airport took the same action as Ruben. The slightly dim waiting hall was filled with flashes of light, like chaotic thunderclaps on a stormy day, until Carlos Bucero and his party came out of the hall, got into the club's car and drove away, and everything returned to calm. Ordinary travelers in the lobby were dazzled by the sudden burst of flashing lights and looked around to see if some celebrity had appeared. The next morning, Madrid football fans suddenly discovered that the media were all reporting on the same thing with all their might. A slightly more subtle title, Real Madrid's deputy general manager returns, accompanied by a mysterious Asian man. A sensational headline, exclusive scoop, mysterious Asian youth to acquire Real Madrid. Suspenseful title, who is he? A sensational, gossip-filled headline, Carlos Bucero returns to Madrid with his Asian illegitimate child. In all the reports, Marca's 5th page, 6th page, 7th headline mentioned, Real Madrid may welcome a mystery coach, followed by a photo of Lee Tongbiam and Carlos Bucero walking out of Madrid airport together. Fortunately, Lee Tongfan didn't understand Spanish, otherwise, even if he was mentally prepared to enter the football world, which is 100 times more entertaining than the entertainment industry, he would have been terrified by these reports. The Spanish media's ability to fabricate stories in certain areas is something that domestic media outlets like Sina and Soho clearly can't match. Unfortunately, no rational citizen of Madrid could believe such absurd claims, and the news became nothing more than a topic of conversation and a source of amusement. Chapter 6: Uncovering Game Cheating Methods. At this moment, Lee Tongfan is attending a board meeting of Real Madrid Football Club. The club's president, Calderon, a lawyer by training, was speaking eloquently, while the board members sat upright, creating a harmonious atmosphere. Lee Tongfan, filled with curiosity, kept scanning the Spanish gentlemen present, trying to discern from their expressions whether they had lost their minds or were going through early menopause, that they had unanimously passed such an absurd decision as appointing him as head coach. But he was disappointed. All the board members were beaming with joy, as if they had gone to great lengths to invite the madman Mourinho, who had swept through the football world, rather than a complete rookie who had inexplicably obtained a coaching license. Something is wrong in my mind. Li Tongfan secretly despised these well-dressed guys, while at the same time he couldn't help but be amazed by the incredible football modifier in his second-hand notebook. It actually presented the most unbelievable things in reality without any flaws. Gentlemen, let's welcome the club's new head coach, the lovely Chinese Li, Mr. Rice Bucket. Calderon made a joke and started clapping, followed by the others, turning the conference room into a sea of harmony. After the meeting adjourned, Calderon met with Li Tongbian privately. Oh, not exactly alone, because there was also a stunningly beautiful female translator present. My dear idiot, the press conference is this afternoon. Do you have any requests? Can't we just not open it? That won't do. As the greatest club in the world, we must maintain a close and friendly relationship with our friends in the media. Moreover, holding a press conference is a responsibility to all Real Madrid fans. All of the above are simultaneous translation works by a female translator with a hot body. Looking at Calderon's enthusiastic old face, Li Tongfan muttered to himself, "Isn't this pushing me to the edge of a volcano?" Just imagine the furious, bloodthirsty expressions on the faces of the reporters from various countries after they learned this shocking news at the press conference, like wild dogs finding a bone. Li Tongfan felt a chill run up his spine from his toes to his forehead. All right. Li Tongfan reluctantly agreed. Also, as the club's new head coach, I hope you can come up with your coaching plan as soon as possible. Would you like to bring a few of your assistants with you? Huh. Hearing Calderon say this, Li Tongfan suddenly remembered that big-name coaches like Mourinho and Benitez usually bring their trusted assistant coaches, team doctors, scouts and all sorts of relatives and friends to the team's coaching staff after finding a new club. However, he obviously didn't have such a wide network of connections, so where would he find any assistants? Thinking about his upcoming coaching career, Li Tongfan felt lost and helpless. Damn it, being alone in this unfamiliar, foreign land, was really boring. Why not find some drinking buddies to keep him company? If we're going to die, we'll die together. Thinking of this, Li Tongfan tentatively asked, I do have an assistant. I wonder if the club could hire him. No problem, Calderon said readily. The sports department will take care of this for you quickly. Please remember that the press conference is at 3 p.m., and we hope you will attend on time. The club has already taken care of your accommodation. Next, Ms. Alex will take you on a tour of the Bernabeu Stadium, so I won't be joining you. See you this afternoon, my dear glutton. The hot, sexy translator gave Li Tongfan a seductive smile, almost stealing his soul. Old Li was a pure soul, how could he resist such a thing? So this girl's name is Alex. After a whirlwind tour of the world-famous Bernabeu Stadium, led by the charming female translator Alex, Li Tongfan arrived at the apartment rented for him by the club. This is a detached house in an affluent area near the Bernabeu Stadium. With its bright white walls and red tiles, it is peaceful and serene, with the atmosphere of an ancient farmhouse. Li Tongfan fell in love with it at first sight. The house has 2 living rooms, 6 bedrooms, 2 garages, and an outdoor swimming pool. All living facilities are provided. Compared to the cramped living space of just over 10 square meters back home that didn't even have a private bathroom, this place is simply paradise. Having hastily dismissed the alluring and flirtatious female translator Alex, the clueless Li Tongfan cheered and rushed into the house, rolling around countless times on the velvet double bed. Grandma Lu was overwhelmed by the sights when she entered the Grand View garden. Half an hour later. Finally calming his euphoric mood, Li Tongfan began to carefully analyze his current situation. First of all, I really did become the head coach of Real Madrid, and the countless bruises on my legs that I pinched myself and are still throbbing with pain prove that I am not dreaming. Secondly, this head coach, who seems to have sprung up out of nowhere, is actually completely incompetent, a classic case of a charlatan. If he doesn't take some remedial measures, his true colors will soon be exposed, and the consequences will be disastrous. Finally, the key to everything lies in having a super powerful cheat device in your hands, one that can control the real-world FM 2007 game. What worries Li Tongfan most right now is that, apart from transfer matters, other things simulated in the game, such as the team's match results, might not be exactly the same in reality. If so, is it possible that only the results after saving the game will be realized in reality? If the above assumptions come true, then as long as you simulate the match results countless times in a game and only save the set of data with a perfect record, wouldn't Real Madrid, which you lead in reality, also achieve a perfect record? Thinking about this, Tongfan got excited again. If all the speculations are true, then if I wanted to, I could become the world's undefeated head coach. This will be an unprecedented achievement. An achievement that surpasses everyone else's. Moreover, don't forget that FM07 also comes with scouting tools and FM data editor. You can modify any data at will if you want. Just imagine, you can turn a player with low potential and little fame into a future star with full potential, and easily create countless Zidane, Owen, and Beckham-style football geniuses. Thinking of this, Tongfan's heart pounded. A mythical era was about to unfold in his hands. Although Carlos Ruben was the first to photograph Carlos Bucero and the mysterious Asian man at the airport and boldly predicted that the mysterious Asian man was likely to be the new head coach of Real Madrid, his bold prediction was so outrageous that his article was only published as the 7th item in the middle of the 6th page of the 5th edition of Marca that day, and did not cause much of a stir. To be honest, the main reason Ruben's absurd predictions were published in Marca was because his alcoholic boss, Raúl Núñez, was actually the mistress of Ruben's still attractive mother. Of course, Ruben was unaware of this. Because of this prediction, Ruben has been jokingly called the child prophet by all his colleagues and has become a laughingstock. As a result, Ruben has been sitting at his desk with his head down, feeling sullen all afternoon. Chapter 7. A tremor rumbles and waves rise. Ring ring. The phone rang, and Ruben answered it casually. After listening to just a few words, he jumped up excitedly. Okay, I got it. Don't worry, boss, there definitely won't be any problems this time. After hanging up the phone, Ruben, as if he had taken Viagra, hurriedly grabbed his briefcase and camera, and sped out the door amidst the astonished looks of his colleagues. Meanwhile, Ruben's alcoholic boss and secret godfather, Núñez, sat in his office, pouring himself a glass of rich 1982 Lafite. He took a light sniff and smiled smugly. Go ahead, kid. For your mother's sake, I hope you don't mess things up this time. An invitation card with the Real Madrid club crest on it sat on one corner of the desk. Ruben sped along, finally arriving at the Real Madrid club's press conference hall just before 3 p.m. after running 3 red lights. This place is already packed with people. In a space of over 100 square meters, all sorts of media professionals, both well-known and unknown, gathered together in a chaotic manner, discussing loudly. Hey buddy, any news? I heard the club has appointed a new head coach, and there should be a press conference. Wow, is that Capello? Or Schuster? I think it should be Hiddink. You know, only a tough coach like Hiddink deserves to lead a team like Real Madrid to victory. This was probably said by a Dutch Real Madrid fan. Damn it, I think it should be Mourinho. The special one reigns supreme at the Bernabeu. Are you brain dead? Our handsome Jose will never leave the great Chelsea. Sweat, even a vulgarity is being used, the speaker seems to be a fanatical Chinese Chelsea supporter. Ruben ignored the frantic arguments of his seniors, although a newcomer to the industry, he had witnessed such scenes countless times. He quietly squeezed to the front, set up his camera, and waited for the press conference to begin. For some reason, Ruben had a strange feeling, as if something amazing was about to happen. Local time in Spain on June 30th. The noisy reporters immediately quieted down when they saw the Real Madrid club's press officer enter. Sure enough, after the press officer said a few polite words on stage, club president Calderon, general manager Mijatovic, and honorary president Di Stefano came out from backstage first, followed by an Asian youth wearing sunglasses. Ruben immediately recognized the Asian youth as the same person he had seen at the airport. An absurd thought suddenly arose in his mind. Could it be? When the other reporters saw the group of people who had appeared, they were slightly taken aback, and then they began to whisper among themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here on time, although this isn't the first time you've done this. The first to speak was Mijatovic, the former Real Madrid striker now the club's general manager, his slick back hair highlighting his confident and ambitious demeanor. Today, I am honored to introduce the club's new head coach, Li, from China. Li is the unanimous choice of the club's board of directors, and he will lead the club to victory after victory in the coming year. Before Mijatovic could finish speaking, the reporters below were in complete chaos, like rats in a swarm of birds. All their cameras were focused on the young man in sunglasses sitting next to Calderon, clearly the good-for-nothing Mijatovic was referring to. God, the reporter from AS began to groan in pain, unable to believe what he was hearing. Is today April Fool's Day? Am I drunk? The bearded reporter from the daily sports newspaper exhaled incredulously, his breath reeking of alcohol. He really was a bit drunk. A Chinese man? Not Capello, not Hiddink. Who knows where this guy in sunglasses came from? Allah, who can tell me who this guy called Fool is? The speaker was a bearded Arab journalist. The press conference hall erupted into a frenzy, as if salt had been poured into a slightly heated pan of oil. Of course, there were also journalists who remained calm throughout, such as Chinese journalist Fan Zhuang and Marca intern Ruben, who frantically took photos with their cameras, like soldiers desperately firing machine guns. Li Tongfan couldn't understand what the reporters were saying. Seeing Calderon and Mijatovic's embarrassed expressions, he guessed they hadn't said anything nice. So, Old Li adopted a deadpan expression, neither happy nor sad, and kept his eyes straight ahead. After a 5-minute photo session, it was Real Madrid's honorary president Alfredo Di Stefano's turn to display the Real Madrid number 1 jersey with the words, Fantongli, printed on it. The old man, with a long face as if the whole world owed him $2.5 million, handed the jersey to Li Tongbiam without saying a word of politeness like, good luck and congratulations, or youthful and promising, and then turned around and left the press conference hall from backstage. A sharp-eyed reporter spotted this scene and quietly noted it down. Clearly, tomorrow's newspapers would again feature news about discord among Real Madrid's top management. Li Tongbiam accepted the jersey quite naturally, showing no surprise at Di Stefano's behavior. To be honest, this Real Madrid legend is a true die-hard fan who hopes the club can relive its glory days of the last century. Clearly, the old man can't understand why the club's board hired such an incompetent person to coach the team. Li Tongfan greatly respected this upright old man. Therefore, he plans to repay Di Stefano with a record that will leave other teams in the world in despair, in order to win the old man's respect. After showcasing the jerseys, we finally moved on to the most important part of the press conference, Q&A with reporters. Who are you? The first to ask a question was a reporter from World Sports. As a pro-Barcelona media outlet, this middle-aged man had a mocking expression and seemed to be gloating. The alluring female translator, Alex, hesitated for a moment before translating the reporter's words to Li Tongfan. I'm your grandpa. Li Tongfan cursed inwardly, thinking, be careful, I might follow the arrogant Chinese Football Association's example and get you blacklisted. But Old Li wasn't stupid, so he naturally couldn't really say it out loud. Wearing large sunglasses, his expression was hidden from outsiders. Li Tongfan completely ignored the ill-intentioned middle-aged man and gestured for the next reporter to ask a question. A pretty blonde, blue-eyed young woman stood up and asked, could you introduce yourself? Fuck, what's the difference between this and the previous question? Li Tongfan, with a long face, continued to ignore her. The pretty girl's big, watery eyes filled with white mothballs as she awkwardly sat back down. The following questions were similar, and Li Tongfan firmly ignored them all, making the atmosphere on the scene a bit awkward. Sohu's senior reporter and old classmate Fan Zhuang squeezed through the crowd, feeling a pang of worry for Lao Li. He knew all too well the consequences of a non-violent non-cooperation attitude, which was most likely to provoke the media. If your coaching results were smooth sailing, that would be fine, but if there were any fluctuations, the media would absolutely spare no effort to smear and denigrate you until you fell into the deepest abyss. Chapter 8. Be a loyal hyena. Sohu's senior reporter and old classmate Fan Zhuang squeezed through the crowd, feeling a pang of worry for Lao Li. He knew all too well the consequences of a non-violent non-cooperation attitude, which was most likely to provoke the media. If your coaching results were smooth sailing, that would be fine, but if there were any fluctuations, the media would absolutely spare no effort to smear and denigrate you until you fell into the deepest abyss. Thinking of this, Fan Zhuang felt it necessary to help his silly, old classmate out of his predicament, so he stood up and asked, how do you feel sitting here as the new head coach of our Madrid? He was speaking Chinese. Li Tongfan replied in a very domineering tone in his local dialect, damn it, you try sitting on it yourself and you'll see. The female translator, Alex, understood Fan Zhuang's question but not Li Tongfan's answer. After a moment of hesitation, she took it upon herself to give a very official reply, I am very happy to be sitting here. My dream of many years has finally come true. At this point, the reporters finally realized that if they pressed the issue of the guy in sunglasses background, they wouldn't get any valuable information. So they changed their strategy, trying to subtly elicit information about the team, hoping to trick this rookie into revealing some bombshells. As the head coach of our Madrid, not speaking Spanish, won't that affect your coaching? Old Lee, with his usual deadpan expression, remained silent. The understanding female translator, Alex, answered for him, football is a universal language. Do you think you can continue the team's winning tradition? Alex smiled faintly, the desire for victory is already in my blood. What tactical style will you adopt? Alex scratched his head, I'm a follower of beautiful, attacking football. People are very interested in whether you will be involved in other club matters. Do you have anything to tell us about that? Alex, her eyes sparkling, said, I don't want to talk about what happened in the locker room. I heard you've divided the team's players into your core group and your collateral group. Is that true? Alex straightened her skirt, it's unfair to make such comments about a player without even meeting him. Which position on the team are you most satisfied with? Which position are you least satisfied with? Alex, his blonde hair flashing, said, I'm extremely satisfied with every position. Well, Li Tongfan sat in his seat, looking at the increasingly enthusiastic female translator Alex with a puzzled expression, realizing that he had completely become a decoration. This was practically a personal press conference for this stunningly beautiful young woman. Calderon and Mijatovic sat calmly on the high platform, their expressions unchanged. Fuck. Li Tongfan cursed inwardly. These two old guys must have arranged it this way on purpose because they were afraid that he, a newbie, would say the wrong thing. However, the reporters don't care who said it. As long as someone answers the question, no matter what they say, they will be labeled as the new head coach of Real Madrid. That's what they always do. Unfortunately, Alex, despite her large breasts, is not brainless, her answer was flawless. So the press conference, which had taken a turn for the worse, continued until it ended half an hour later. Disappointed yet excited, the reporters left the press conference hall, looking back every few steps. After that, countless phone calls were made, countless faxes were sent, and countless emails were sent. Centered in Madrid, with modern high-tech communication methods, a world-shaking message surged to all parts of the world. If the CIA were to accept a private commission, then I believe the world's major football media outlets would certainly not hesitate to spend huge sums of money to hire 007s to thoroughly investigate whether this guy called Rice Bucketley is actually God's illegitimate son, otherwise how could he be so lucky? After attending the press conference, Alex took Li Tongbiam to Real Madrid's training ground, Real Madrid Sports City. By this time, the players' summer vacation had ended, and they had all returned to the club. The first-team veterans, along with several young players from the second-team Castilla, were undergoing preseason recovery training together. As the team's new head coach, Li Tongfan must meet with his players as soon as possible. However, before that, he plans to meet with the team's assistant coach, Greed, to hear some detailed reports about the team. In the head coach's office, which bore his name, Li Tongfan met assistant coach Grade, a mature and steady handsome middle-aged man. The team's former assistant coach, Caro, took over as interim head coach from Brazilian Rosenborg midway through last season. He led Real Madrid to a second-place finish in the league amidst the chaos, but he never gained the trust of the club's management. After the season ended, he angrily terminated his contract with Real Madrid and accepted an invitation from another La Liga team, Levante, to become their head coach. Greed was originally Real Madrid's first-team coach and had worked at the club for 7 or 8 years. He was well liked by the club's management and players for his ability and his affection for the team, so it was only natural that he was promoted to be Li Tongbiam's assistant coach in the new season. Hello, it's a pleasure to work with you. I hope we can have a successful collaboration. As an outsider monk who didn't know how to chant sutras at all, Li Tongfan adopted a very humble posture. As soon as Greed entered the door, Li Tongfan took the initiative to extend his hand first. Oh, I hope you can lead the team to victory, or at least do a better job than your predecessor. Seeing Li Tongfan's enthusiastic face, Greed, who was a little tense, relaxed a little. To be honest, as a loyal fan of the team, Greed was very prejudiced against hiring an unknown rookie like Li Tongfan to coach the team, so he didn't intend to give Li Tongfan a good look. Greed prayed silently. After being beaten by arch-rivals Barcelona for 2 consecutive years, the club could no longer afford any more setbacks. He hoped that this new personnel appointment would not be the beginning of a tragedy. Li Tongfan understood Greed's coldness. To earn respect, he had to prove himself with results. Without wasting words, Li Tongfan got straight to the point and politely asked Greed to introduce the current general situation of the team. Of course, the two of them needed the help of Alex, their enchanting translator. Okay, Greed was a very competent assistant coach. Before Li Tongfan could finish speaking, he took out a stack of detailed information from his black briefcase and began to report carefully. The first team has a total of 27 players. The best players in the front, middle, and back lines are. According to the current lineup, if we want to win the league championship this season, we still need to bring in 1 or 2 more strong players, especially in the center-back position. 5 minutes later, Greed finished his presentation and handed all the materials to Li Tongfan. To be honest, although he is a football fan and knows quite a few stars, Li Tongfan has never learned about Real Madrid in such detail as he did today. After a moment of contemplation, Li Tongfan decided not to express his opinion for the time being. Because all his decisions had to be made with reference to the FM 2007 Football Manager game in his notebook, and he was powerless to do anything else. This was a secret that he had to keep to himself. With that thought in mind, Li Tongfan had no desire to see the team's star players anymore. Although as an ordinary fan I dreamed of seeing stars like Beckham and Ronaldo in person every day, now I'm the head coach of the team, aren't I? If you want to meet those legendary football stars, there's plenty of time and opportunity. After chatting casually with his future partner, Greed, to build rapport, and then giving Alex a task, Li Tongfan bypassed the training ground and headed home. None of the star players who were training hard on the field noticed their head coach passing by on the sidelines. Finally, amidst the uproar in the football news world, the news of a mysterious Chinese youth named Foodie Li taking over Real Madrid spread, causing a tsunami in the world of football. In France, Germany, England, Russia, Argentina, Brazil, in every corner of the planet where football is present, Li Tongfan's name was being discussed enthusiastically. Who is he? This was everyone's first reaction upon hearing the news. Flores, editor-in-chief of the pro-Barcelona Spanish newspaper Mundo Deportivo, wrote gloatingly in his column. The 2006-07 La Liga season ended before it even began. I don't know what made Real Madrid's board of directors think that hiring an inexperienced rookie would be enough to compete with Rijkaard's dream team too. But it's clear that this season will be another painful journey for Real Madrid, and without a doubt, the ultimate champion will be the great Barcelona team. Of course, the most interesting and intense reaction occurred in faraway China. Fan Zhuang was the first among all the Chinese journalists to obtain this news. After attending the press conference for the new head coach of Real Madrid, Fan Zhuang immediately compiled all the information he knew into a concise summary and sent it to China as quickly as possible. After doing all this, Fan Zhuang brewed himself a cup of Blue Mountain bitter coffee. Watching the faint steam rise from the cup, he felt a strange impulse. This was absolutely an opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime chance. His college classmate had inexplicably become the head coach of the world's most famous football club. For him, a football journalist, there was nothing more wonderful than this. From now on, he would definitely be able to get news about Real Madrid 10, 100, or even 1,000 times faster than anyone else. Of course, all of this is predicated on currying favor with this college classmate with whom I've grown somewhat estranged due to a long period of no contact since graduation. I must be like the loyal hyenas kept by Li Tongfan, using my sharp pen to tear apart any voices that question their master, and become a thorough supporter of Li. From this day forward, we will share both glory and loss. Ring ring. The phone rang, and Fan Zhuang answered it. A familiar voice came from the other end. It was the editor-in-chief of Sohu's international football section. Xiao Fan, is the news true? Mistakes are acceptable in normal times, but we absolutely cannot allow a news blunder like this. Fan Zhuang, of course, knew what news the editor-in-chief was referring to. Editor Wang, don't worry, it's absolutely true. Get it published quickly, or we'll lose the advantage. Fine, I'll believe you, kid. If we die together. Several tens of minutes later, Sohu Games saw the following messages on its webpage. Red blood takes over Real Madrid, a quality that makes Capello back down. The Chinese Dragon takes center stage at the Bernabeu, and the Galacticos find a new captain. Once netizens figured out the details of the message, the forum exploded. One netizen commented, "The editor-in-chief of Sohu's international football section is from Mars, confirmed." Another netizen commented, "Looking at the Lanzhou giant sesame seed cake, keep the formation downstairs. Stand back and watch. Keep formation. This journalist is brain dead, how dare he publish such absurd and illogical news. This unscrupulous prostitute named Fan Zhuang, your mother is calling you home for dinner." Chapter 9, Deciding the Fate of Star Players Through Games. Back in his detached apartment, completely unaware that the international football scene was in complete chaos, Li Tongfan hastily ate a few pieces of honey bread he had brought from China, took a cold shower, pulled out his four-handed IBM T30 from his suitcase, and eagerly opened the Football Manager 2007 game. Enter the Real Madrid archive and carefully observe the composition of the team's first team. In the game, Real Madrid's first team has a total of 28 players, namely: goalkeepers, 1 Iker Casillas, 13 Diego Lopez, 28 Adán, 29 Casilla. Defenders, 2 Salgado, 3 Roberto Carlos, 4 Sergio Ramos, 5 Cannavaro, 11 Cicinho, 12 Marcelo, 15 Raúl Bravo, 21 Ivan Helguera, 22 Paco Pavón, 24 Alvaro Mejía. Midfielders, 6 Diarra, 14 Guti, 16 Gago, 19 Reyes, 23 David Beckham, 26 Javi Garcia, 27 Della Red. Forwards, 7 Raúl, 9 Ronaldo, 10 Robinho, 17 Van Nistelrooy, 18 Cassano, 20 Higuaín. As a seasoned Football Manager fan, Li Tongfan's favorite formation, which he has always used in the game, is the 4-1-2-1-2 diamond midfield formation, which consists of 4 defenders in a parallel formation. The 4 midfielders are a beastly defensive midfielder with superb interception ability, an attacking midfielder with excellent technical awareness, and a technical winger with strong sprinting ability and speed. As for the forward line, there is a tactical center forward with strong impact and good passing and control, and a shadow striker with good speed, good technique, and outstanding positioning awareness. Therefore, after much deliberation, Li Tongfan decided to adopt this offensive tactic in real life as well. He carefully analyzed the team's lineup in the game and meticulously examined each player's technical, physical, and mental attributes. He discovered that, as assistant coach Grade had said, the lineup did indeed require minor adjustments. First, in the defense, there are enough fullbacks such as Roberto Carlos, Ramos, and Marcelo, but the centre-back position must be strengthened. Apart from Cannavaro, neither Bravo, Pavón, nor Mejía are capable of serving as the team's starting centre-back. Secondly, in midfield, Robinho, Marcelo, and Reyes can all play as wingers. Although Beckham is a bit slow, he has good stamina, a wide running range, and a knack for unpredictable crosses and free kicks, so he can also be used as a winger. As for the defensive midfielder, Mohamed Diarra and Fernando Gago can rotate in that role. On the other hand, for the attacking midfielder position, besides Guti, we need a substitute who can adapt to the tactical requirements. The most perfect aspect is the forward line. Van Nistelrooy can play as a tactical center forward, while Raúl, Ronaldo, Li Tongfan's favorite, Cassano, and Higuaín can play as shadow strikers, making the squad more than adequate. Based on the above, Li Tongfan realized that the team urgently needs an excellent center-back and a skillful attacking midfielder with good technique and awareness. Of course, if possible, they should also bring in a defensive midfielder, since Gago's physical interception ability is slightly lacking. Thinking of this, Li Tongfan raised his head and carefully considered which outstanding players in his mind could be candidates. There are excellent players who can be key players for a powerhouse like Real Madrid in the centre-back position, such as Terry from Chelsea, Ferdinand from Manchester United, Materazzi from Inter Milan, Chivu from Roma, and Mexes. However, all of these players are pillars of their respective teams, and even if their clubs were willing to sell, they wouldn't be able to afford the transfer fee of less than 7 million. The same goes for the attacking midfielder position. After thinking it over, I really don't have a clue. Li Tongfan stood up, drank a glass of water, and cursed Calderon inwardly. He'd only given him a transfer fee of £6.98 million, what was he even going to buy? Sigh, Kaká was definitely out of the question. As a huge Football Manager fan, Lee Tongbiam has a real fondness for Kaká. Actually, when you really think about it, Lee Tongfan was wrong to blame Calderon. If it weren't for the super powerful cheat device FM 2007, how could he have become the team's head coach? According to the actual development, after Juventus was relegated to Serie B due to the Calciopoli scandal at the end of last season, its head coach Capello had already reached a verbal agreement with Real Madrid to take over the club. Therefore, the team's summer transfers were carried out according to Capello's plan, and the team spent €64 million to bring in Cannavaro, Van Nistelrooy, Emerson, poor guy, who was used as an experimental subject by Lee Tongbiam to be modified and sent away from Real Madrid, Reyes, and others. The game using FM 2007, the player they got was the rookie Lee Tongfan. Although Capello didn't come, the player he personally selected had already transferred to Real Madrid, so the club couldn't afford to spend a lot of money to buy another player. Giving Lee Tongfan nearly £7 million in transfer fees was already quite generous. Lee Tongfan drank water while thinking, downing 3 bottles of mineral water in one go, but still had no clue. Just as he was about to give up, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. Oh right, don't we have a scouting tool? Just use the scouting tool to search the game database, and there are tons of great, cheap wonder kids, right? This is yet another incredibly powerful cheating tool. Simply enter your search criteria into the scouting tool, and all players who meet the criteria will be displayed at a glance. Isn't that much more cost-effective and faster than sending scouts all over the world to search for them? More importantly, all the players found through scouting tools are genuine. There is no risk of paying a high price for a dud because some unscrupulous scouts have been bribed to lie or have poor ability to assess player potential. With that in mind, Lee Tongfan acted immediately, enthusiastically opening the scouting tool, inputting his requirements, and after repeated comparisons, finally determined the candidates for centre-back and attacking midfielder. To be honest, when Lee Tongfan saw the names of these two people, he couldn't help but slap his forehead and scold himself for being stupid. How come he didn't remember these two calves? These two geniuses are quite famous in reality. They are economical, have unlimited development potential, and more importantly, these two are little bull demons who can fight as soon as they arrive. Lee Tongfan excitedly took out a pen and wrote down the two names, preparing to hand them over to Mijatovic, the general manager in charge of club transfers, the next day to handle the transfer matters of these two people. After settling the player acquisitions, we need to consider streamlining the first team. Following Lee Tongbiam's usual practice, the first team should ideally have no more than 24 players, so some players must leave. Looking at the first team lineup on the game screen, after much deliberation, Lee Tongfan identified Bravo, Pavon, Mejia, and Helguera as players no longer needed and to be discarded by the team. In Lee Tongfan's so-called tactical system, there was simply no place for these four. Lee Tongfan also wrote down the names of the four people, intending to hand them over to the club's general manager, Mijatovic, the next day. He figured it was better to let that guy handle the potentially offensive task. Wow, everything's done. Chapter 10 Character determines fate. With the team roster settled, a formidable hurdle still looms before Laoli, the language barrier. As the team's leader, relying on a translator to communicate with the players daily would be a serious understatement. Moreover, who knows if the translator can accurately convey their meaning to the players? The saying goes, it's better to rely on yourself than on others, so I must master Spanish as soon as possible. However, mastering a language is no easy task. Even if you hire the best tutor in the world, with Lee Tongfan's language talent being so poor that it's hard to meet his parents-in-law, he probably wouldn't be able to master it without 3 to 5 months of hard work and dedication. Oh no! Lee Tongfan scratched his messy hair into a bird's nest. Old Lee stared at the game screen on his laptop with a worried look on his face. Suddenly, an idea popped into his messy head: could the language be modified to cheat through the game? The thought flashed through Lee Tongfan's mind like lightning. He could no longer sit still and eagerly open the head coach's attribute page to observe it carefully. The game screen is shown below. Personal information: Lee Tongfan, male, born in 1984, 22 years old. Reputation: intercontinental, position, head coach. Mental attribute: financial control, 10. Discipline management, 10. Dedication index, 10. Club/player loyalty, 10. Use of domestic players, 10. Tactical variability, 10. Tactical information, preferred formation, 4-4-2. Compression method, mixed. Coaching style, balanced. Game mentality, be willing to attack. Man-to-man tracking method, tight zoning. Contract information, type, full-time contract. Start, June 29, 2006. Ended, June 30, 2007. Salary, £44,000 per week. Tongfan carefully analyzed his game stats and found that they were not much different from those in other regular Football Manager games. For example, in terms of mental attributes, all stats were fixed at 10 for new players. As the game progressed, the stats would fluctuate based on the player's actions, with a maximum value of 20. However, none of these were the most important things. What Tongfan was most concerned about now was whether he could cheat in the language section. He then looked down at the bottom of the screen and was delighted to find a language option button at the very bottom of all the information, followed by two small red words, Chinese. This means that Tongfan now only knows Chinese. With a gentle click of the button, a notification sounded, and a black and white soccer ball-shaped alert popped up on the screen. Change language bindings? Yes. Tongfan lightly clicked the mouse to confirm, and the screen then switched to a rectangular drop-down menu below the head coach's virtual avatar, where he entered the more than 20 most widely used languages in the world. After thinking for a while, Tongfan decided to choose 3 languages, Chinese, English, and Spanish. After making your selection, click the OK button, and a black and white soccer ball-shaped reminder box will pop up on the screen. System solemnly reminds you that you have used up your 3 free game trial opportunities. This operation will consume 3 luck points. Confirm. Shrimp. Consume luck points. What is character? What's going on? The 2005 and 2006 versions of Football Manager never mentioned anything about character points. Tongfan was stunned. It seems that the functions of this game are far more complex than I had imagined. The unexpected turn of events quickly stirred a sense of urgency and crisis within Laoli, causing it to churn within him. This feeling is like a perpetually reclusive guy finally finding a pure, beautiful, and petite girlfriend after countless hardships, using all his sweet talk to finally trick her into bed, and after having a relationship that goes beyond friendship, only to be devastated to find that she, after pulling back her belt, seriously asks him for a night fee. Fuck. Tongfan was so frustrated that he wanted to masturbate. Take a deep breath, and take another deep breath. As his emotions gradually calmed down, Tongfan felt it was necessary to understand what the character points were all about before making a final decision. Hover your mouse over the words charm points, and the mouse cursor changes to a hand shape. That's interesting. This means there's a next level menu behind those 4 words. Sure enough, after clicking on the words character points, a very eye-catching, blood-red, dazzling, and chillingly red text box with a skull and scythe appeared. Special note, after this system binds you to a player, it will randomly award you a certain number of reputation points, maximum 100 points, based on your reputation level. These reputation points are a consumable resource used to maintain the normal operation of the game. Please note that if you run out of reputation points, you will be eliminated by the system. If you do not start the game for more than 30 consecutive game days, you will also be eliminated by the system. You can obtain reputation points by triggering hidden quests in the game. Fuck. After reading this passage, Tongfan felt dizzy and immediately thought of ZHTTTY, a popular online writer on Jidian. Then, after a 1/3 second interval, I immediately thought of the masterpiece that pioneered a major genre of online novels, Infinite Terror. Damn it, this FM 2007 system is practically a miniature version of the God Space. All it talks about is annihilation, how is it any different from the cold-blooded God in Infinite Terror? No, there's a difference. This FM 2007 game is much more insidious. Before binding your character, it doesn't mention anything about reputation points or elimination. Moreover, it maliciously gives you 3 free chances, which is like bait for fishing. Only after you fall into the trap step by step will it reveal its hideous fangs. Damn it, I've been tricked. Li Tongfan immediately plummeted from his pedestal, filled with regret. This isn't playing a game, it's playing with your life. At most, you have a mere 100 luck points. Note, while Mr. Li Tongfan is crying and cursing, he's also relieved that the system gave him the maximum 100 luck points, proving that our old Li's luck is still pretty strong. How long can that last? One wrong move, and the treacherous game system will gleefully wipe you out. It's over. It's over. Chapter 11 Infinite Flow Soccer Modifier. Li Tongfan really wanted to faint right now, then wake up happily to find that he had only been having a nightmare. Unfortunately, his subconscious told him that even playing dead wouldn't work at this moment. So, Li Tongfan slapped himself twice to make sure he was still mentally sound, and then began to carefully analyze the profound meaning of the passage in the red text box, word by word. As a master of self-preservation, Li Tongfan logically and clearly reached the following conclusion within a third of a quarter of an hour. First of all, he was already bound to this insidious system, like being slapped hard on the butt by a super sticky plaster. There was a 99.9% chance, note, the remaining 0.1% chance was purely old Li's wishful thinking, that there was no hope of getting rid of it. No wonder his vision suddenly went blank after he was bound, and he stupidly thought it was because that was too much. Li Tongfan really wanted to imitate Stephen Chow in 3 Smiles at Chiu Xiang, and shout in heartbreaking pain, "Who dares to be more miserable than me?" Secondly, the system had given me 3 free trial opportunities, which I think refer to the first time I bound the game, modified Emerson's contract, and just now when I activated the scouting tool. Unfortunately, I've unknowingly used them all up, and I'm so regretful I want to jump off a building. Afterwards, the game requires luck points, and I currently have 100, which should be enough to last for a while. However, the frequency of luck point consumption is currently uncertain, so the length of this while is still unknown. Furthermore, running out of luck points means certain death. Li Tongfan felt another pang of anguish at this thought. This insidious system, damn it, the system's rules are very scientific. Running out of luck points means certain death. If you're afraid of using up your luck points and don't play the game, then congratulations, after 30 game days, you'll also be kicking your own bucket. They're completely pushing old Li to his doom. There's no way out, no way to escape. Finally, Li Tongfan looked at the last sentence in the text box and burst into tears. Like a drowning chick that was about to drown suddenly discovering that it is actually a swimming duck, heavens and earth, I still have a chance to live. You can earn corresponding luck points by triggering hidden characters in the game. What does this tell us? This means old Li can be saved. Character points can be consumed, but they can also be obtained through certain methods. Is this the legendary accumulating character points? Li Tongfan never imagined that one day, the issue of RP role model that he often mentioned in casual conversations with his friends would be linked to his own delicate life. Bill Shankly, the founder of the Liverpool dynasty and arguably the greatest manager in the club's history, once said, "Football is not about life or death, it's about more than life or death." Li Tongfan wholeheartedly agrees. If the old man were standing in front of him now, Li would surely hug his leg and weep bitterly. Alright, since there's still a chance to survive, I need to make a good plan. According to the system prompts, only by triggering the game's hidden quests can I obtain luck points, so playing the game to the end is essential. Fortunately, the system is quite generous, giving me 100 points as starting capital, which leaves room for maneuver. From this moment on, Li Tongfan will truly fight for survival. Having barely calmed his emotions, which were as volatile as those in the Bermuda Triangle, Li Tongfan tried it out and discovered that each language change required 1 luck point. Chinese, English, and Spanish each required exactly 3 points. Although Li Tongfan had already mastered Chinese, the insidious system had clearly included this in its calculations. There was no other way. He absolutely couldn't lose his Chinese, and Spanish and English were both essential communication tools for becoming a good coach. So, Li Tongfan decided to use up 3 points of his good karma to master Spanish as soon as possible, and with a determined look, he clicked the OK button. As the saying goes, if you want to do something well, you must first have the right tools. To play the game well and earn more character points, you must first arm yourself, ideally arming yourself to the teeth. Moreover, even if someone is really going to die, or even if they are bleeding profusely, they don't care about these 3 reputation points. They're already in a bind, so they might as well spend them first. Ding dong. Another pleasant notification sounded, language binding changed, consuming 3 points of good karma, you have 97 points of good karma remaining. Then. Li Tongfan felt as if he'd been struck by lightning, and he ran to the bathroom howling like a banshee. Like a adulterer caught in the act, he was utterly humiliated. And, to top it all off, there was a loud, resounding fart. That's absolutely, well, absolutely amazing. Ugh. Ugh. In the bathroom, Li Tongfan vomited so violently that the world seemed to go dark, the sun and moon disappeared, the earth shook, and 2012. After a while, Li Tongfan crawled out of the bathroom with wet hair and drool dripping from his mouth. Damn it, taking shortcuts really does come at a price, it almost cost us our lives. These words were uttered by Li Tongfan in authentic Spanish with a Madrid accent, because this guy has indeed mastered Spanish. Completely mastered it. He's no less proficient than the natives of Madrid. This is incredible. Absolutely incredible. This is truly a super cheat code. After language binding, Li Tongfan felt as if he were born with Spanish. He spoke it fluently, without any awkwardness. As for the spectacular performance in the bathroom just now, it had nothing to do with consuming character points. The real reason is, if your brain, like Li Tongfan's, suddenly overflows like the Yellow River, or is flooded with a massive influx of unfamiliar linguistic information, you'll also experience a brain short-circuit, nausea, dizziness, and, incessant farting. Having mastered the language, I've passed another hurdle. Having settled everything, Li Tongbiam, feeling hungry, scared, and excited all at the same time, lay comfortably on the soft bed, thinking about how to address the first-team superstars after their official meeting the next day. Should he be as arrogant as Mourinho, showing off with a line like, "Besides God, it's me"? Or should he be more low-key, saying something like, "You guys are all great lads, I have high hopes for you," to boost morale? Well. Other people make money as coaches, but I lost my life as a coach. What a miserable life. Amidst endless resentment, exhausted from a long day, Li Tongfan, like a wronged wife, curled up on a spacious velvet white bed, large enough for 2 or 3 couples to work on simultaneously, and soon drifted off to sleep, accepting the invitation of the Duke of Zhou, a figure in Chinese mythology associated with dreams, emitting deafening snores. Chapter 12, My First Close Encounter with a Superstar. Madrid Sports City. At 8:30 in the morning, the sun was just rising and the weather was cool. For the laid-back residents of Madrid, this is the perfect time to get out of the soft comfort of their beds and enjoy a delicious breakfast, or to have one last time with their loved ones. However, for the Real Madrid stars who have just returned from their holiday, they must drive to the training base at the Madrid Sports City before 8:30 a.m. to begin their pre-season recovery training, to regain the form they may have lost during their holiday in the Maldives or the Caribbean, and to build up sufficient physical strength for the long season ahead. The team's assistant coach, Greed, was waiting at the training ground gate early in the morning, chatting with the groundskeeper while waiting for the stars to arrive. "Good morning, Greed. You look great." The first to arrive at the training ground was the heartthrob David Beckham, his handsome face bearing a friendly smile as he waved to Greed from afar. "Good morning, David. New rule, you have to sign first." Greed held up an exquisitely crafted card, neatly printed with the portraits and names of many first-team players, arranged in order of their positions on the field. "Your new boss's rules." The new head coach is none other than the mysterious Chinese coach. To be honest, none of the first-team players have ever met this unknown new coach, and they are all filled with curiosity. Beckham took the card and pen, skillfully signed his name, and casually asked, "What's this for?" Greed shrugged, indicating he didn't know either. "You'll have to ask him yourself, David, but I think Mr. Rice Bucket will explain it to you." "Mr. Glutton." A handsome young black man ran over from the parking lot. Hearing Greed's words, he lowered his voice and asked furtively, "Is it that mysterious Chinese coach?" Before Greed could answer, another star player arrived and slapped the young man hard on the back. "Robbie, stop dawdling, we're going to be late." "It's Robert Carlos." As for the handsome young black man nicknamed Robinho, he is none other than the Brazilian striker Robinho. Robinho grinned, signed his name, and trotted off onto the training field. At 8:30 sharp, all the players had arrived. Greed, holding the small card signed by the players, knocked on the door and entered the head coach's office, which had Li Tongfan's name printed on it. "Sir, all the team members have arrived. Here are the signed cards. Would you like to meet them?" Greed kindly reminded rookie Li Tongfan. As the team's head coach, it was really unacceptable that he hadn't greeted his players yet. After saying that, Greed suddenly wanted to slap himself twice. He suddenly remembered that the guy in front of him didn't speak Spanish, and there was no female translator Alex present. He figured his well-intentioned reminder was like throwing good money after bad. However, what happened next caused this usually composed man to lose his composure, because... "Wow, thank you, Greed," Li Tongbiam, who was engrossed in writing something at his desk, excitedly took the card, carefully placed it in his desk drawer, and then thanked him in fluent Spanish. "From now on, this will be part of the team's attendance check-in procedure. Everyone must sign in before training every day. If anyone is late, Greed, you know what to do, right?" "Huh? Oh, yes, yes, according to the old rules, players who are late must do extra physical training. Sir." Poor comrade Grade was so shocked by Li Tongfan's unparalleled language talent of learning Spanish overnight that he was a little incoherent. Li Tongfan observed everything with amusement in his heart. He pretended to think for a moment and then expressed his satisfaction. "No problem, the rules don't need to be changed, being late still means extra physical training. I'll leave this to you. You tell the boys first, I'll be right out." This arrangement fully demonstrates Li Tongfan's consistent, good guy, behavior. Since being late is a matter that offends people, it's better to leave it to the assistant coach. As soon as the surprised Greed stepped out of the office, Li Tongfan immediately took out the autographed card from the drawer and couldn't help but blow him a kiss. "Yeah. I'm such a genius," someone boasted. "I've come up with such a brilliant idea, signing cards once a day, even if I'm laid off and go home after a year, I can still collect at least 300 cards signed by superstars. If I sell those on Taobao, I can definitely make a small fortune, So that's what that bitch was planning." If assistant coach Greer and the unsuspecting star players knew that their head coach was this incompetent, they would be speechless and utterly dumbfounded. Real Madrid superstars lined up neatly, awaiting their new coach, the mysterious Mr. Rice Bucket. In the first team, Van Nistelrooy, Cannavaro, Gago, and Higuain all joined Real Madrid this season. Capello, who had high hopes for them, suddenly parted ways with Real Madrid, and the new coach, Li Tongbiam, has not made a clear statement. These players are still somewhat uneasy about their future in the team. Especially Gago and Higuain, compared to their teammates, they are only slightly famous in Argentina. Outside of Argentina, very few people know them. If the new head coach does not like to use young players, then their future will be very bleak. Entering a prestigious club is like entering a deep, dark sea. Countless real-life examples have fallen one after another before them. Take their Argentine predecessor, Mr. Saviola, for instance, who still sits on the cold bench at Camp Nou with a look of class struggle on his face, ready to spend his life on the bench. It's worth noting that before his transfer to Barcelona, former South American Footballer of the Year Saviola was far more famous than these two upstarts. As for the other veteran players, such as Raúl, Salgado, and Guti, although they are not afraid of losing their positions, who wouldn't want to play peacefully under a coach who appreciates them? If they can gain the appreciation of a new coach, that would be the best thing ever. No one is born wanting to be a football hog, especially someone like Raúl who dedicated his entire career to Real Madrid. Amidst the great anticipation of the superstars, Li Tongbiam arrived late. Wearing oversized sunglasses that covered 3/5 of his face, Li Tongbiam began his first address as head coach to everyone's astonishment. "Good morning, guys." That was Li Tongfan's opening remark. Someone below whispered, "You're even younger than us." Li Tongfan overheard this and, through his black-rimmed glasses, quickly glanced at the speaker. It was the bad boy, Cassano, who had spoken. "We'll deal with this hothead later." Li Tongbiam continued his inaugural address. "Everyone's asking, who is this guy who suddenly jumped out from the other side of the world?" Li Tongfan pointed to his face. "Everyone's asking, but for you, that's not a problem at all, because all you need to know is that I'm the head coach of this team." Whether you like it or not, in the coming season, you all have to bravely win games under my guidance. Win game after game, just like you've always done. The large black glasses perfectly concealed the slightly guilty look in Tongfan's eyes beneath his imposing aura. In the eyes of the Real Madrid superstars, the man standing before them was spirited and fearless. Chapter 13. I like this feeling. As a member of a team with a glorious championship tradition, I hope you will forget about this silly question from today onwards. If anyone still wastes their energy on this, I don't mind asking them to introduce themselves separately. Li Tongbiem's voice was sinister, and Real Madrid superstars were somewhat intimidated. For now, this new coach seems to be a ruthless character like Mourinho. After the stick comes the carrot. Li Tongfan secretly gave himself a 10 out of 10 in his mind while trying to force a smile onto his tense face to show his goodwill. Of course, it's a pleasure to cooperate with you. Boys, if you want to be the main force, then impress me with your actions. If anyone still has questions, they can come to me individually after training. Now, dismissed, let's begin training. Li Tongfan ended his first reprimand in his coaching career very briefly. Although he felt that his performance was too domineering at the time, many years later, when he looked back on it after achieving great success, he thought that the reprimand was a pile of stinking dog shit. It's all because of a lack of experience. Real Madrid star players trained under the guidance of assistant coach Greld. Head coach Li Tongbiem did not participate, but stood on the sidelines wearing sunglasses, watching the situation on the field without moving. Although Li Tongfan didn't provide any specific guidance or demonstrations, in fact, he didn't know anything at all, the star players in training felt that there was always a pair of cold eyes watching them behind those black glasses. The newly joined players, in particular, trained even harder. Wearing a black suit, black leather shoes, and black sunglasses, plus the typical black hair of Chinese people, Li Tongfan, standing motionless on the sidelines, looked like a black statue. However, if you look closely, you'll notice that Li Tongfan's lips are twitching, as if he's trying his best to control himself from laughing. In reality, he's already ecstatic. Luckily, I've read Lin Hatingteo's The Godfather of Champions. Tony Dunn's cool sunglasses trick really worked. It's unbelievable. What did I just do? A world-class star was scolded by me like a good boy. Wow, this feels so good. This is what a man should feel. I love this feeling. Li Tongfan silently said to himself. Croatia is located on the southeastern edge of Europe, in the northwest of the Balkan Peninsula, on the eastern coast of the Adriatic Sea. With a land area of 56,538 square kilometers, it is a very influential country in Central Europe. In Zagreb, the capital of Croatia, there is a traditional powerhouse in European football, which has won the UEFA Cup once and finished as runner-up once. In addition, it has won the Croatian League title 9 times, the Cup title 8 times and the Super Cup 7 times. It is a unique team in Croatian football. World-renowned football legends such as Davor Suker, Zvonimir Boban, Prosinecki, Balaban, and Srna all came from this football club, which is Dinamo Zagreb. As July arrived, the 2006-07 domestic league season was about to begin. Dynamo Kiev was playing its final preseason friendly match at the team's home stadium, Maximilian Stadium, which has a capacity of 38,932. The stadium was packed with enthusiastic fans. Oh, kill these split cowards and send them home to nurse. Go, Luka, go, you're the best. We have a big guy, a big guy, let that black guy eat shit. In the stands, the radical Dynamo fans were like young stallions in heat, their faces painted red, frantically waving scarves, hats, coats, and underwear. While cheering for their own players, they frantically provoked the opposing players, their deafening boos like the roar of the Mediterranean tide. Such a thrilling scene, if you didn't know what was going on, you would definitely think you were watching the European Champions League final. But looking at Dinamo Zagreb's opponent, everything becomes clear, because the away team is none other than Dynamo's biggest rival in Croatia, Hajduk. This warm-up match was practically a Croatian national derby. On the pitch, Dynamo, wearing their home red and white checkered jerseys and fueled by the fervent cheers of their fans, firmly controlled the game. The slender young man wearing the number 10 jersey was the team's core player, his sharp dribbling and skillful passing constantly creating deadly opportunities. Every time this young man with long blonde hair dribbles the ball forward, a tidal wave of cheers erupts from the stands. The football at his feet is like a clingy baby begging for milk, impossible to shake off. Under the orchestration of the young number 10, Dynamo's midfield operates like a precisely functioning machine, orderly and sharp. In the 76th minute, the young number 10 feinted past the Hajduk midfielder who rushed to intercept the ball, and without pausing, flicked the ball with his toe, sending it flying in a beautiful arc before landing perfectly at the feet of the Dynamo striker who had found space. The striker lifted his foot and the ball swished into the net. This is Dynamo's fourth goal, making the score 4-0 with the home team in front. On the giant digital display board, a bright red name appeared 4 times. 23 minutes, assist, Luka Modric. 44 minutes, assist, Luka Modric. 51st minute, assist, Luka Modric. 76th minute, assist, Luka Modric. Rumble. A huge cheer erupted from the Maxim Stadium. After the goal, the enthusiastic fans in the stands went wild. A 4-0 thrashing of their league rivals would give them something to brag about to their relatives, friends, and lovers for the next week or even a month. After conceding the goal, Hajduk pressed forward across the field and launched a counterattack. Although it was just a warm-up match, it was a real battle between two rivals in the domestic league. If they couldn't even score a single point in the remaining 10 minutes, then when they returned to Split, Hajduk's fervent supporters would definitely beat them to a pulp, from the coach to the players. This is no joke. Last season, after Hajduk suffered a shock home defeat to a weak team, a group of crazy fans actually did just that. Unfortunately, Hajduk's desperate counterattack was ruthlessly crushed by Dynamo's defenders, especially the tall number 4 in the Dynamo jersey, whose tackles were sharp, quick, timely, and accurate in anticipation, like a reef in a stormy sea, firmly defending their position. After the match, Dynamo players lined up to bow and thank the enthusiastic fans, while the poor Hajduk players, led by their dejected coach, slunk away, packing their bags and boarding the bus back to Split with a sense of tragic despair. "Hey, Luka, Vidland, the boss wants you two to go to his office." After changing clothes, Dynamo's number 10 Luka Modric and number 4 Vidran Korluka, who were about to drive home, thanked their teammates after hearing their greetings. In high spirits after winning the game, the two chatted and laughed as they arrived at head coach Blanko Ivankovic's office. "Luka, Vidran, this is Mr. Mijatovic, the general manager of Real Madrid." Blanko Ivankovic somewhat reluctantly introduced the middle-aged man sitting next to Dynamo Club president Brisic, whose sizing-up gaze carried a hint of arrogance. Real Madrid? Modric and Korluka's hearts skipped a beat simultaneously. Chapter 14, Various Discontents with Autocracy. On July 8, 2006, Real Madrid officially announced that it had acquired Luka Modric and Vedran Korluka from Dinamo Zagreb of Croatia for £8.8 million. Veteran FM series game fans know that in FM 2007, Luka Modric, Vidran Korluka, and Eduardo Silva were known as the Dynamo Trio. Modric, who just turned 20, can play in any position on the left, center, or right of the attacking third. He has a strong overall view, accurate passing, and rich imagination, making him a rare midfield talent in FM 07. Korluka is also only 20 years old, standing at 1.93 meters tall. He excels at both right and center-back positions, is physically strong, and has quick, accurate, and powerful tackling. He is also an excellent header, making him a formidable aerial threat in the game, second only to players like Terry, Vidic, and Ferdinand. As for Eduardo, the striker, he is affectionately known as the Fox in the penalty area, by fans due to his excellent positioning, stylish runs, and calm ball handling. He is a character similar to Inzaghi too. The reason Tongfan chose Modric and Korluka, besides the fact that Real Madrid's current squad really needs players in those positions, was mainly due to his quirky sense of humor. "I aspire to be a boy lover like Arsenal's Wenger." As for the Fox in the penalty area, Eduardo, damn it, Real Madrid's attacking line is too luxurious. Buying him would be a disaster. He's still young, and if he can't get into the starting lineup, he'll be wasted. He needs to gain experience through matches, so let's leave him alone for now. Modric and Korluka, these two adorable boys, are surprisingly easy to get along with. More importantly, kids are easier to fool. If you let them play as substitutes, they won't throw tantrums and act like those superstars. If any head coach doesn't love a player like this, then he's definitely a dunce, and a fool at that. The only pity is that the two youngsters haven't proven themselves in a top European league yet. But is that a problem for Lee Tongbium, who has a super cheat code and invincible scouting tools at his disposal? Well, in a way, there really is a problem. A foolish club's foolish decisions, an idiotic manager's idiotic signings. Once you see this title, you'll understand what's going on. Yes, after Lee Tongbium attended the press conference in high spirits with the newly signed Croatian boy, the media from all walks of life, who were not optimistic about Lee Tongbium, started a new wave of anti-Lee campaigns. Especially the Spanish newspapers Mundo Deportivo and Mundo Deportivo, like two Labrador retrievers in the late stages of rabies, bared their teeth and seized every opportunity to mock Lee Tongbium. The headline above, brimming with serious insult, was yet another foresightful prediction by Flores, editor-in-chief of Mundo Deportivo, in his column. I am saddened by the impending loss of competitiveness and entertainment value in La Liga. As the league's iconic team, Real Madrid is treating the league with an unprecedented level of negativity. If their previous decision to bring in the Chinese coach Lee was merely a temporary relief from their inability to hire a world-class manager, it is said that both Capello and Hiddink had publicly stated they had no interest in coaching Real Madrid, then Calderon's indulgence of Lee's farcical signing is undoubtedly digging his own grave. Madrid fans, do you really want that lawyer-turned-football ignoramus and the utterly incompetent Chinese coach to lead the team into an abyss of no return? After Mr. Flores smeared Real Madrid to the point of being completely worthless, he still didn't forget to fan the flames and sow discord between the fans and the club. His intentions were truly malicious. Aside from pro-Barcelona publications like Mundo Deportivo and Sport, even some neutral football media outlets were not optimistic about Lee Tongbium's signings. In their view, while Modric and Corluka were somewhat well known in Europe, for a powerhouse like Real Madrid, they were merely a case of chicken ribs, neither good enough to keep nor bad enough to discard. Of all the media outlets, only three stubbornly defended Calderon and the incompetently, AS, Marca, and Soho International Football. Unfortunately, AS and Marca have always presented themselves to the public as Real Madrid's official writers, while Soho International Sports, despite having international in its name, has negligible international influence. Therefore, these already faint voices of praise quickly faded away amidst a massive wave of ridicule. As a result, under the relentless provocation of numerous media outlets, some blindly radical Real Madrid fans are preparing to launch a planned and organized mutiny. It's said that the windows of Calderon and Mijitovic's mansions have been enthusiastically greeted by a number of fanatical fans with bricks, stones, wooden sticks, and, well, used condoms. The perverse tastes of Spanish fans make Lee Tongfan blush. As a result, a nearby glass sales company has seen its sales increase by 250% in the past 2 weeks. Damn it, you bastard Flores, do I have a grudge against you for stealing my wife or killing my child? You dare to pick lice on the tiger's butt? It seems that if I don't show my power, everyone will think I'm Hello Kitty. Fine, I'll show you how many eyes the king of horses has. It seems that sometimes ignorance is a good thing. Having mastered Spanish, Lee Tongfan was finally able to keep up with the outside world's opinions about him. The repeated provocations from this world sports editor named Flores made the naive coaching novice Lee Tongfan feel that he had to do something. It's important to understand that after taking charge of a team, Lee Tongbium is no longer fighting alone. His reputation is the face of the team. If someone arrogantly slaps your rather plump face 250 times, and you just swallow your anger and remain silent, what's the difference between that and being shameless? All 20-odd members of the team were watching Lee Tongfan closely. If the head coach can't even handle these minor setbacks, how can he talk about leading the team to victory after victory? Do you think Xingli is your mother, following you everywhere? A man has to be ruthless to others. Especially those others who harm others without benefiting themselves and are just bored out of their minds. So Lee Tongfan decided to launch a counterattack. With the help of the club's management, he decided to start a column in Marca called Cure All Dissent. These 6 characters were printed in Chinese characters, which seemed to the Spanish like a mysterious Eastern incantation. Isn't it awesome? Lee Tongfan was very satisfied with the column name he had come up with in a flash of inspiration. Of course, Marca's editor-in-chief, Raúl Núñez, was even more pleased. This Real Madrid coach, once labeled an idiot by his media colleagues, is now a household name, quotes for pejorative effect. Whatever this idiot says will generate immense interest among fans, and the newspaper is sure to sell out. Nunez was so happy that he took out his Chivas Regal 20, which he had carefully preserved for more than 20 years, and shared it with his subordinates. When the excitement wore off, he looked at the empty bottle, not a drop left, and the old drunkard regretted it so much that he wanted to chew his tongue and commit suicide. Chapter 15 From Madrid to Tiananmen Square, Beijing. Li Tongfan's first article in the Various Discontents with Autocracy column was extremely short, with a title that roughly translates to Anyone who dares to bare their teeth at me will be made to regret it. As the head coach appointed by the board of directors of the great Real Madrid club after careful selection and decision-making, I, on behalf of myself, express my strongest protest against the recent comments made about me by friends in the media. Although I cannot be sure whether Mr. Flores of World Sports is experiencing premature menopause due to excessive work pressure, which is why he keeps making ridiculous predictions. As a famous football commentator, don't you know that anything is possible before the game starts? Oh, sorry, please forgive my incoherence. If you're willing, I'd like to make a bet with you. If Real Madrid fails to defeat the Barcelona team you call the greatest this season, I'm willing to crawl on my knees from the Bernabeu to the Camp Nou. Do you dare? Do you dare? Old Lee made a harsh statement. What Lao Li really wanted to say to that editor-in-chief of World Sports was, don't be pretentious, or you'll get struck by lightning, don't pretend to be innocent, or you'll get gang-raped. However, given the terrifyingly powerful impact of this maxim for conduct, brimming with the wisdom and hard work of countless Chinese netizens, it would surely enrage the Spanish officials who cannot accept new ideas, potentially leading to their own suspension before the start of the competition and their premature demise. Therefore, after careful consideration, Old Lee decided to pass it up. However, don't think that Li Tongbian has really been blinded by the other party's remarks. Please carefully examine his premise: if Real Madrid cannot defeat Barcelona at the end of the season. What does it mean to defeat? Li Tongbian's subtext is, if Real Madrid can beat Barcelona even once during the season, I won't climb over. With this incredible cheat code in hand, I refuse to believe I can't win at least once. At worst, I'll just have to use up a few more luck points. Cunningly shrewd. But the media had no idea that Li Tongfan was so shameless. Everyone's first thought was that this fragile young man had gone mad under the pressure, so the overwhelming ridicule intensified. They always add fuel to the fire, never offering help when someone is in need. This is the consistent, despicable behavior of football media. So, poor Flores fell for it. The day after Li Tongfan's column was published, Comrade Flores did not hesitate to bite into the sweet bait that Old Lee had thrown out. If you dare to climb from the Bernabeu to the Camp Nou, I dare to climb from Madrid to Tiananmen Square in Beijing. This is the bold and confident answer from Flores, the editor-in-chief of World Sports. Damn it, you won't drown. If you're so capable, crawl across the Pacific. You dare mess with me? Do you know that scouting tools show Modric has the potential to be 189 centimeters tall in FM 2007? Do you know that Corluca's nickname in the gaming world is the cheapest centre-back wonder kid? Do you know that I have FMM? Do you know that my scouting tools are even better than Sun Wukong's fiery eyes? Do you know, never mind, you wouldn't understand anyway, just wait to crawl until you're crippled. Seeing that he had achieved his goal of indulging in his wicked sense of humor, Li Tongfan chuckled and muttered a few curses under his breath. Then, ignoring the media's reaction, he focused all his energy on training the team. Still dressed in all black, with oversized sunglasses perched on his fairly straight nose, Li Tongfan watched as assistant coach Greed rigorously trained the superstars according to his so-called tactics, compiled from FM 2007. He felt a sense of pride, like Dongfang Bubi, who was invincible and thought, with the Sunflower Manual in hand, I own the world. In the first team, as many as 9 are new signings this season, so far there hasn't been any foolish youngster who dared to challenge head coach Li Tongfan's authority. The tactics from the game were completely replicated on the training ground at Madrid Sports City, where all the players were working hard and sweating under the scorching sun. To be honest, when Li Tongbian first presented this tactical arrangement, assistant coach Grade expressed his concerns in a rather tactful way. This was because the tactics were too focused on offense. There was only one defensive midfielder, while the other attacking midfielders, wingers, and forwards were all fully committed to the attack. If the opponent launched a counter-attack, they would suffer a terrible defeat. Don't worry, Greed, we have plenty of talented players. One flash of brilliance is enough to take down the opponent. Anyone who dares to play tight defense with me, I'll just push in and crush them. After listening to Li Tongfan's explanation, and thinking about the miracle of this guy learning Spanish overnight, poor Greed was already somewhat convinced. Alright. Greed consoled himself. Maybe this guy from the mysterious ancient eastern country really can pull off a miracle. This tactic isn't entirely useless after all. So, after using his absolute professional knowledge to help Li Tongfan make minor adjustments to this absolutely unprofessional attack formation, Greed approved of the rookie Li Tongfan's tactical arrangements. 3 days later, the preseason friendlies officially began, with the first opponent being Osasuna from La Liga. This is a La Liga team based in Pamplona, Navarre province, Spain. Founded on November 17, 1920, it has an 86-year history. Last season in La Liga, Osasuna emerged as the biggest dark horse, finishing fourth and qualifying for the UEFA Champions League knockout stages. Influenced by the bullfighting tradition of Pamplona, the city where the famous running of the bulls takes place, this team is known for its tough playing style and has strong characteristics of northern teams. It is one of only 4 teams in La Liga with a membership system. The name Osasuna was created by Benjamin Ando and José Martínez and means health and strength in Basque. The match was held at Real Madrid's home stadium, the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium. Due to the recent uproar in the news regarding Real Madrid's head coach and player recruitment, as many as 50,000 Real Madrid fans came to watch the game. Everyone wanted to see what kind of results this outspoken new head coach would achieve. This match was broadcast on a limited scale by Madrid City Television. Chapter 16. This is a legendary road. At 1900 hours Spanish time, the match officially began. The referee, Rodriguez, blew his whistle, and the away team, Osasuna, kicked off first. In this match, Li Tongbiam fielded a starting lineup with goalkeeper Casillas, defenders from left to right, Roberto Carlos, Corluca, Cannavaro, and Ramos, defensive midfielder Mohamed Diarra, wingers Beckham and Robinho, attacking midfielder Guti, and forwards Raúl and Van Nistelrooy. The unfortunate Ronaldo has been sidelined for a month due to a fractured patella and is currently receiving treatment from specialists. Since it was a warm-up match, Li Tongbiam did not use the FM 2007 game emulator beforehand, partly to avoid wasting his luck points, and partly out of a very wicked sense of humor. Didn't everyone say I couldn't manage the team well? I'll deliberately lose a few warm-up matches to let you guys get even more cocky. When the league officially starts, I'll slap you all hard in the face and make all the doubters swallow their words. Therefore, although the tactics were strictly arranged according to Li Tongbiam's 4-1-2-1-2 formation, the starting lineup was decided by assistant coach Grade, who said it was based on the recent training conditions. From the start of the match, Real Madrid played very aggressively. Except for the 2 centre-backs, everyone else pushed into the opponent's half. In the first 20 minutes, even the 2 full-backs, Roberto Carlos and Ramos, were both offside once. Because Li Tongbiam usually gives his players a lot of tactical freedom during training, the Real Madrid stars played a series of dazzling combinations, and apart from the final shot, everything else was perfect. Some say Real Madrid fans are the most knowledgeable about football, while others say they are the least knowledgeable. This statement is perfectly illustrated at this moment. The team's overwhelming dominance on the field failed to translate into goals, which began to displease the knowledgeable Real Madrid fans. Scattered boos started coming from the south stand, which is home to the most die-hard and radical supporters. Li Tongfan, dressed in a black trench coat, Li admitted that he was blindly imitating Mourinho, stood by the coach's bench, his eyes fixed on the court, unmoved. To some extent, he felt no pressure at all. It's just a warm-up match, no need to play for real. At the end of the first half, Real Madrid had an astonishing 80% possession, but failed to score a single goal. Amidst the increasingly loud boos from the fans and Osasuna coach José Zaganda's smug yet contemptuous smile, Li Tongbiam was the first to walk back to the locker room. 15 minutes later, the game resumed after the break. Li Tongbiam made no substitutions, and Real Madrid continued to launch an attacking offensive, even more so than in the first half. Even centre-backs Caravaggio and Corluca would occasionally push forward to harass the opponent's defense. Osasuna strictly followed head coach José Zaganda's tactical arrangements, deploying an impenetrable, dense defense. The midfielders relentlessly committed fouls to make tackles, and as soon as they gained possession, they immediately launched long passes to find the powerful striker Milosevic at the forefront. Unfortunately, although Zaganda's tactics were very clear, Real Madrid's players seemed to be on drugs or Viagra today. Their runs in the attacking third were dazzling and fluid, and they got more and more excited as the game progressed. Despite Osasuna players' constant tackles, they rarely managed to get the ball. Amidst increasingly loud boos from Real Madrid fans, Lee Tongbiam's first goal as coach finally came belatedly. In the 57th minute of the second half, Real Madrid's Ramos took a throw-in. Beckham received the ball and launched a long pass from the right side of the field. The ball landed precisely at Roberto Carlos's feet on the right. Carlos feinted past Osasuna's right-back Igor Erdo, who was pressing him, and delivered a low cross with his right foot. Real Madrid's captain Raúl, half leaning against Osasuna's centre-back Flano, gently flicked the ball with his ankle, and the ball bounced behind him like an obedient child. Raúl turned and shot, and the opposing goalkeeper couldn't block it in time. The ball bounced and flew into the bottom left corner of the goal. Carlos controlled the ball perfectly, a low cross into the box, Raúl, a beautiful dribble, Raúl turns and shoots. Goal! Goal! Real Madrid takes the lead. It's Madrid's hero Raúl who opened the scoring for his team. The Bernabéu stadium erupted in a deafening roar of cheers. The team took the lead, and the goal was scored by Raúl, Real Madrid's iconic figure. This is the scene all fans love to see. Raúl habitually kisses his ring after scoring a goal, and his teammates surround him to celebrate. The camera deliberately focused on Lee Tongbiam standing on the sidelines, and surprisingly found that the young head coach, who was under immense pressure, did not show any reaction, not even a hint of happiness. It seems our Mr. Rice Bucket is so happy he's gone mad. Come to think of it, even the iron-willed manager Capello would suffer from depression under such pressure. The commentator took it upon himself to analyze Lee Tongfan's unexpected behavior and expressed his sympathy for him. In fact, the commentator wasn't wrong. At that moment, Lee Tongbiam was completely stunned, not because of the goal, but because he was overwhelmed by the volcanic eruption of the crowd. This is real football. This is real professional football. Lee Tongfan stood on the sidelines, raised his arms, closed his eyes, and silently told himself over and over again, "This is life, the life I want." Who hasn't been young and impetuous? Who hasn't hoped to stand out from the crowd? Who doesn't want to be the most special one among the billions of people on this planet? Despite repeated setbacks at work, Lee Tongfan's aging parents, who still yearn for their son's success, continue to toil under the scorching sun and on the burning black soil, risking their lives. However, Lee Tongfan, laid off and staying at home, is powerless to help in the slightest. The pressures of life have long since buried Lee Tongfan's childhood dreams deep within his heart. Countless sleepless nights he tosses and turns, wondering if he should spend his life as a meek and submissive office worker, drifting aimlessly through life. What about the house? The car? What about my dreams? Yes, I'm still young, I have plenty of time to wait, but what about my aging parents? Can they wait 4 years after 4 years just to receive their son's gratitude? If a situation arises where the son wishes to care for his parents but they are no longer there, it would be a disaster. I can't even imagine. But now, the opportunity has arrived. I was fortunate enough to have this opportunity that countless people dream of. If I miss it, I will regret it for the rest of my life. It was as if a door had suddenly opened up before him. If Lee Tongfan had been timid and at a loss because of this sudden and huge change, then from this moment on, Lee Tongfan's thinking was slowly beginning to change. Yes, watching the fans in the stands shouting wildly, listening to the tidal wave of applause, and seeing the flashes of light like self-immolation, Lee Tongfan felt in a daze that he was standing at the center of the world, with everything under his control and everything as he pleased. I've only just begun my journey. This will be a brand new road. The road to legend. At this moment, the fans in the stadium suddenly erupted in an uproar. As the ball went out of bounds and the game was temporarily suspended, the Real Madrid players slowly walked off the field one by one. What's going on? A strike? The camera focused on Real Madrid's substitutes bench, and people were surprised to find that the players sitting on the bench were already fully dressed and eager to play. It turns out that after the team took the lead, Lee Tongbiam substituted all the players on the field except for Casillas and Van Nistelrooy, finally giving new signings like Higuain, Gago, and Marcelo a chance to play. At this point, the game had just reached the 60th minute. Real Madrid's substitutions continued for 5 minutes before finally ending, while Osasuna's players stood still for a full 5 minutes. This personnel change is truly, it's quite unique. The commentator on Madrid Sports Channel was about to say something, but suddenly realized that such a substitution was perfectly feasible according to the rules. After stammering for a while, he finally uttered, "Unconventional." The match then continued. The newly introduced players clearly wanted to make a good impression on their new boss, and they tackled even more fiercely than Osasuna. In the 71st minute, Reyes broke through and crossed from the byline. The ball was headed out of the penalty area by an Osasuna defender, but young Gago, lurking outside the box, immediately controlled the ball and made a clever through pass. Van Nistelrooy, still inside the penalty area, understood perfectly and gently pushed the ball past Osasuna goalkeeper Juan Illa under his arm and into the goal. He truly deserves the title of king of the penalty area. Goal. Van Nistelrooy has scored Real Madrid's second goal of the match, and his first goal since joining the team. The fans erupted in a deafening roar of cheers once again. Real Madrid have secured the victory. After the match, a Real Madrid player who wished to remain anonymous, as the media typically refers to him, revealed in an interview that head coach Lee Tongbiam said only one thing in the locker room at halftime: "Play freely, don't worry about the result, today we're just having fun." It is said that after reading the next day's newspaper, Osasuna's head coach José Zaganda, with a dark expression, rigorously trained his players for a whole week. Chapter 17, Ruben, the journalist who loves paradoxes. Opinions are mixed regarding Lee Tongbiam's first victory for Real Madrid. Those who praise the team believe that Lee Tongbiam's newly developed 4-1-2-1-2 formation perfectly suited the club's requirements for beautiful and attacking football. Moreover, judging from the match, Real Madrid had 80% possession throughout the game, 36 shots with 21 on target, and scored 2 goals. Their attack was fluid and their teamwork was dazzling. The newly signed players also integrated well into the tactical system, which is a good sign. While one warm-up match isn't enough to tell the whole story, winning is always better than losing, isn't it? However, the Antili faction, led by Flores, had no intention of letting this Chinese man who had gotten lucky off easily. For Real Madrid to only beat a weak team like Osasuna by 2 goals with such a luxurious lineup proves that Lee is a complete mediocre player. And look at the 2 unknown Croatian players he insisted on bringing in, they made absolutely no impact in the match. Damn it, who dares to guarantee they can score more than 2 goals in every game? If Osasuna, who finished 4th in the league last season, is a pushover, then what are Sevilla and Villarreal, who finished behind them? Shark fin. Bird's nest. You clown, you idiot Flores, you should do more morning exercises and prepare to crawl from Madrid to Tiananmen Square. The above passage, uttered by Lee Tongfan without regard for decorum, was carefully altered by Carlos Robin, a hereditary journalist for Marca, and presented with a refined appearance on the front page of the next day's newspaper. No team in the world can consistently win by more than 2 goals. I think Mr. Flores lacks sufficient respect for Osasuna. Real Madrid is a great team with the best players in the world. Mr. Flores should reconsider his previous bet. Insidious. This was Lee Tongfan's first impression after seeing the newspaper the next day. I never expected that this seemingly harmless intern reporter from Marca would be so much better at stirring up trouble than I am. In just a few words, he transformed the contradiction of the football world's general distrust of him into the contradiction of Osasuna and Real Madrid players' collective protest against the contempt of Flores and his ilk. Could this guy have studied Chairman Mao's on contradiction? One can imagine the expression on Flores' face after seeing this report. Hopefully, the editor-in-chief won't get so worked up that he gets mouth ulcers. As for Carlos Ruben, a junior reporter for Marca, thanks to his underground godfather, Núñez, the lucrative prize of Lee Tongfan was allocated to him amidst the clamor of over 100 reporters at Marca. Thanks to his exclusive coverage of Lee Tongfan, Ruben has recently gained some fame in the football journalism industry, and it's rumored that several newspapers are preparing to offer him high salaries to poach him. Opportunity favors the prepared mind, and Carlos Ruben was fortunate enough to latch onto Lee Tongfan's coattails. Because Ruben went to great lengths to publish articles in Marca in support of Lee has gradually come to remember and accept this young reporter. From now on, Lee will only accept Ruben's interviews in the Spanish media. If someone treats me with respect, I will treat them with even greater respect. If someone bites me, I will stab them 10 times. This is the principle that Tongfan has always followed in dealing with people. So, now that I have the ability, why not help this clever young reporter out? La Liga officially starts on August 27th, and Real Madrid has 3 warm-up matches before the league begins, against Inter Milan, Fiorentina and Manchester United. It seems impossible to encounter such an opponent in a warm-up match, right? Actually, it was all arranged by Tongfan in the game FM 2007, and then he asked the club management to make the contact. Sure enough, in reality, the 3 clubs mentioned above all rushed to express their willingness to come to the Bernabeu Stadium to play a warm-up match against Real Madrid. Since arranging a friendly match in the game is not considered cheating, no extra luck points were consumed this time. Calderon and Mijatovic, who were initially hesitant about inviting the 3 top clubs, immediately organized a large-scale publicity campaign after learning that the 3 clubs had unexpectedly agreed to participate in the warm-up match. For fans, enjoying such a visual feast before the start of the league is an unparalleled experience, while for Calderon and Mijatovic, these 3 matches are another opportunity to gain fame and fortune. Commercial profits are a huge pie that no Real Madrid president could afford to give up. These 2 cunning old foxes swiped all the credit without hesitation. Tongfan had no objection to this. Some of the credits you can take, but there are others you can't take even if you master the monkey stealing peaches technique to its fullest extent. Whatever. For Tongfan, mastering the rules of FM 2007 before the league officially begins is of paramount importance, especially the frequency of consumption and acquisition of luck points. If he cannot fully master the game, he may not only lose his job as a coach, but he may also lose his life in a muddle. Tongfan didn't want to kick the bucket in such an unprecedented way. He hadn't repaid his parents' kindness in raising him, and besides, he was still a virgin. How could he face the beautiful girls all over the world who were eagerly waiting for him if he suddenly passed away? Ahead of the friendly match against Inter Milan, Tongfan, through repeated observation and study, gained a much deeper understanding of the FM 2007 system and came to the following conclusions. First, this game runs automatically as real-world time progresses, always maintaining a lead of at least 1 day over real-world time. In other words, if you don't turn on the game yourself, the system will play itself, and it'll play happily. Even more shameless, the consequences of the system's actions are entirely borne by Tongfan. According to Tongfan's analysis, the reason why the system always keeps the game time ahead of the real time is that only when things in the game happen before things in reality can the reality be modified in advance. Secondly, regardless of whether you actively participate in the game or the system plays on its own, each week of game time progression consumes 2 luck points. Apart from this, as long as you don't cheat by using abnormal saves, FMM, data editor, or scouting tools, and the game progresses normally, you generally won't consume luck points. Conversely, each act of cheating will consume 1 luck point. Finally, what Tongfan really wanted to curse about was that he still hadn't figured out how to gain character points. His original 100 character points, after deducting the points used for language cheating and maintaining the system's normal operation for the past 2 weeks, had left him with only 93 points. Tongfan seemed to see the old god of the underworld grinning mischievously, brandishing a gleaming little razor blade against his delicate neck. Chapter 18 A warm-up match. Just kidding. Tongfan already knew the results of the next 3 warm-up matches through the game system simulation, so he was very calm. But the outside world doesn't see it that way. Flores and his ilk are all waiting with bated breath, like hungry wolves. They will swarm in and tear Tongfan to shreds at the slightest opportunity. In an atmosphere of impending doom, on July 9, Real Madrid hosted Inter Milan at home. Tongfan arranged the exact same starting lineup as in the Osasuna match. Amidst the deafening roar of the Bernabeu, after 90 minutes, Real Madrid, playing at home, lost 0-1. Ibrahimovic's only goal in the 17th minute of the match sent Inter Milan happily back home. In addition, there was something even more frustrating for Real Madrid fans. Mohamed Diarra, the defensive midfielder who transferred from French champions Lyon for £18 million this season, was injured and had to leave the field in the 70th minute of the match. The team doctor diagnosed him with a sprained ankle and said he would be out for 4 weeks. As expected, Lee Tongbiam was met with a barrage of attacks from the Flores-like supporters after the match, with various rumors flying around. 1 Minute Mundo Deportivo reported that Calderon could no longer tolerate Lee Tongbiam's incompetence and was preparing to replace him, and the next minute Diario Sport reported that Real Madrid stars were dissatisfied with Lee Tongbiam's tactical arrangements and publicly criticized the coach. In fact, some of the reports weren't entirely unfounded. Calderon and Mijatovic did subtly remind Lee Tongbiam that they hoped the team could achieve a more balanced offense and defense while winning. The pressure was like a mountain, slowly pressing down with its shadow, but Lee Tongfan didn't have time for these idiots' nonsense right now. He needed to summarize the problems he found in the competition, and his notebook was already filled with the conclusions drawn from these 2 warm-up matches. Of course, Lee did this not to modify tactics, nor because he wanted to study hard and improve every day, but purely to make his future use of FM 2007 cheating more purposeful. As expected, this clash of titans exposed several problems. Guidi's form was inconsistent, Raul was too slow, and Beckham lacked the ability to break through on the wings. Lee Tongfan wrote all of this down in his notebook. These notes in the notebook are the reason why Lee Tongfan chose the 3 strongest teams for a warm-up match. As for the score, just kidding. On August 15, Real Madrid will host their 3rd preseason friendly opponent, Fiorentina, a long-established powerhouse in Serie A. Last season, Fiorentina was also embroiled in the Calciopoli scandal that shocked the world of football, and was ultimately deducted 30 league points, ranking 9th in Serie A. However, compared to Juventus being directly relegated to Serie B, this punishment was not considered a serious blow. In the afternoon, the referee Ricardo Alberto Siquila Garcia, damn, what a long name, blew his whistle, and the match officially began. 31,673 people attended. Lee Tongbiam made slight adjustments to his starting lineup, but the 4-1-2-1-2 formation remained unchanged. Casillas was still in goal, with Roberto Carlos, Corluca, Cannavaro, and Ramos in defense. Gago replaced the injured Mohamed Diarra in midfield, partnering with Reyes and Robinho on the wings. Guidi was the attacking midfielder, and Raul and Van Nistelrooy were the forwards. Real Madrid, true to their relentless and aggressive style from the previous 2 matches, launched a full-scale attack from the outset. Fiorentina, caught completely off guard, were stunned by this unexpected barrage of attacks. Just 3 minutes into the game, Raul received a pinpoint through ball from Guidi in the backfield, beat the offside trap, rounded the onrushing Fiorentina goalkeeper Fry, and scored a 1-on-1 goal. The cheers at the Bernabeu Stadium resounded throughout the heavens and earth. After scoring, Raul kissed his ring again, but observant reporters noticed that after kissing the ring, Raul glanced at the coaching bench in the distance, then raised his arms, seemingly stirring up the atmosphere. Lee Tongfan also noticed this, although there was no obvious provocation in Raul's eyes, however. It seems the problems were bound to arise sooner or later. Real Madrid attacked too fiercely, and it was a completely unreasonable and reckless bombardment. By the time the Fiorentina players recovered from the shouts of their coach Prandelli, the first half was already nearing its end. Head coach Prandelli sat calmly on the bench. Although the start of the game was unexpected, he'd heard that Real Madrid's coach was a complete novice with no coaching experience. Sure enough, with this kind of play, after adjustments at halftime, he had 1,000 ways to crush the opponent. Prandelli glanced at Lee Tongbiam, dressed in black and standing on the sidelines gesturing for the players to keep pushing forward, and a smile played on his lips. "Young man, you still have a long way to go." Just then, an unexpected incident occurred on the field. In first-half stoppage time, Fiorentina made another mistake. Centre-back Ujfalusi, under close marking from Van Nistelrooy, inadvertently headed Reyes' corner kick into his own net. Fiorentina's goalkeeper Fry, who had been playing exceptionally well, was easily fooled by Ujfalusi's completely unannounced double agent act. At half-time, Real Madrid led 2-0. From any perspective, this was a perfect first half. The chants echoing throughout the Bernabeu said it all. Prandelli frowned. There was an element of luck in that goal, but thinking about the opposing team's inexperienced coach, he quickly relaxed. As long as the tactics were adjusted properly in the second half, everything would be fine. Amidst the resounding cheers of Real Madrid fans, 15 minutes flew by, and the second half began. Lee Tongbiam substituted Beckham for Gago, Higuain for Raul, Modric for Guti, and Marcelo for Roberto Carlos, continuing the relentless attack. As for playing Beckham as a defensive midfielder, this is a new idea that Lee Tongbiam came up with after the last match against Inter Milan. Since Beckham, who is about to become an old man, has such poor dribbling skills that it's embarrassing, let's try him out as a Pirlo-style playmaker. However, the situation on the field has changed. Fiorentina clearly changed their tactics at halftime, leaving only Romanian striker Mutu and Italian striker Pinto in the attacking third, and decisively began to play a defensive counter-attacking style, which led to a stalemate in the game. Chapter 19 The Charlatan says, "Believe in your players." The situation on the field has changed. Fiorentina clearly changed their tactics at halftime, leaving only Romanian striker Mutu and Italian striker Pinto in the attacking third, and decisively began to play a defensive counter-attacking style, which led to a stalemate in the game. 15 minutes later, Real Madrid's attack was still all bark and no bite. Their efficiency was pitifully low. On the other hand, Fiorentina occasionally launched brilliant counterattacks, and thanks to their striker Mutu's superb individual dribbling ability, they had a few good shooting opportunities. If it weren't for Casillas's heroics, the score might have already changed. Fiorentina's head coach Prandelli sat calmly on the bench, looking completely at ease, as if Real Madrid were the ones trailing behind. Everything is under the old fox's control. Meanwhile, on the other side, some people couldn't sit still any longer. Lee, should we ask the lads to tone it down a bit? They're pressing too hard right now, and if they keep playing like this, there'll be problems. Assistant coach Grade was a little worried. Fiorentina's head coach Prandelli was known for his shrewdness, so they couldn't be careless. Only by being cautious could they ensure a safe journey. Don't worry, we'll score soon. Old Gerd, you have to trust your players. Lee Tongfan turned and pointed at the Real Madrid players on the field, leaving Gerd with a sly smile full of self-satisfaction. Greed was taken aback, and suddenly felt a strange feeling. Thinking about the various miracles this guy had shown before, the sly, grinning face in front of him seemed to have an indescribable charm, which gradually calmed his previously uneasy heart. So much so that Lee Tongfan intentionally or unintentionally gave him the nickname Old Greed, and Greed subconsciously nodded in acceptance. It seems that Lee Tongfan has subtly corrupted a pure heart. As expected, Lee Tongfan was right. In the 57th minute, Beckham, playing as a defensive midfielder for the first time, ran tirelessly and intercepted the ball from Fiorentina striker Pinto in the backfield. He then launched a long diagonal pass, and Higuain on the left wing tipped the ball with the instep of his foot before it bounced. Inside the penalty area, Van Nistelrooy held off Ujfalusi and swept the ball into the net with his left foot. What a tragedy! Ujfalusi, my classmate. Including the own goal in the first half, Ujfalusi has been twice backstabbed by Van Nistelrooy. Fortunately, Fiorentina's coach Prandelli doesn't have Ferguson's infamous hairdryer technique, God help him avoid developing Van Nistelrooy phobia. Upon seeing the goal, Prandelli's smile froze, as if he had been slapped hard across the face several times, and his face turned ashen. Looking at the calm-faced rookie on the sidelines of the Real Madrid coaching bench, Prandelli felt a mix of emotions. Was everything planned out by this young man? Did he know that he would choose to defend and counterattack, so he used this to his advantage and launched a fierce attack? Indeed, the only way to break the Italian style of counterattack is to use the sharpest spear to defeat the opponent in one fell swoop before you get hurt. From the initial onslaught to the relentless pressure after taking the lead, is everything under the control of this junior? If that's the case, then he's terrifying. Prandelli finally put away his contempt. Whoosh! After Van Nistelrooy scored, the cheers at the Bernabeu reached their peak. Even Raul and Guti, who had been somewhat sullen after being substituted early, showed a hint of a smile on their faces. That's amazing, it really scored. How did you know it would score? Oh, Lee, you're incredible. Greed jumped up excitedly. To be honest, after losing to Inter Milan, he was bombarded with criticism from the media. Although he was only an assistant coach, the old man was already feeling the pressure. How would I know? Knew the score before the match even started, through FM 2007. Lee Tongfan smiled and began to show his charlatan nature. Old Go, as the head coach, you must always believe in your players, instead of being afraid of that old man sitting on the opposing coach's bench. That old man refers to Fiorentina's head coach Prandelli. Honest greed, ever the learner, feigned sudden enlightenment and pulled a fine little notebook from his pocket, writing down this golden rule. A diligent and studious man. With a score of 3-1. A frenzied Marcelo needlessly fouled Fiorentina's star player Mutu in his own penalty area, conceding a penalty. Italian midfielder Montalivo took the penalty, but Casillas made a brilliant save. Mutu followed up with a shot, and Real Madrid suffered a tragic blow at the last moment. As the players left the field, Real Madrid fans stood up and sang their team song, "Come on, Madrid," and sparse applause broke out as Lee Tongbiam waved in a perfunctory manner. This is a good sign, at least some fans have accepted this young and outrageous head coach. For fans, everything else is nonsense except for results. So after comforting the somewhat hurt Marcelo, old Lee went over to shake hands with Fiorentina's head coach Prandelli, who was looking sullen. A petty person has gotten their way. In a post-match interview, Fiorentina's veteran Prandelli praised his junior, the incompetently Tongfan, as a master strategist. Note, this is Lee's own translation, while Lee Tongfan, unusually, remained modest. Damn it, the old man is trying to trick me. He's going to lift me up to the top and then let me freefall. Lee Tongfan saw through Prandelli's malicious intentions. On August 20th, Real Madrid will face their final preseason opponent, Premier League giants Manchester United. This clash of titans attracted the attention of numerous television stations worldwide, with over 60 stations from 20 countries broadcasting the match. According to Real Madrid's technical department, television broadcast revenue alone reached a staggering £2 million, not to mention other on-site advertising revenue. Upon learning these figures, Lee Tongfan was immediately devastated and extremely resentful. Damn it, just one warm-up match is worth more than my annual income. This despicable person doesn't even consider that his annual income is something many people would struggle their entire lives to achieve. His greed is insatiable. Chapter 20 The little boy turns the tables. A football match is always like the surging waves under the sexy black bra of the beautiful woman sitting across from you, making you drool. Only when you muster up the courage to pull off those two pieces of cloth blocking your view will you truly know whether that towering thing is real or artificial silicone. The 3-1 victory against Fiorentina in the previous match silenced the criticism from Flores and his supporters against Lee Tongbiam and Real Madrid for a while Real Madrid fans and neutral football media who were initially observing began to have confidence in this match. But they were all disappointed. It turned out that Real Madrid's newly appointed rookie coach was a complete scoundrel who didn't play by the rules. Because in the starting lineup for the friendly match against Manchester United, the young boys happily took over the majority of the field. Experienced veterans like Raúl, Guti, Roberto Carlos, and Ramos sat idly on the bench, counting their toes. Marcelo plays as left back, Real Madrid reserve player Miguel Torres plays as right back, Corluca partners with Cannavaro in centre back, Gago plays as defensive midfielder, Modric plays as attacking midfielder, Robinho and Reyes play on the wings, and Higuaín and Van Nistelrooy play as strikers. The starting lineup has an average age of under 23. Even the two veterans in the squad, Van Nistelrooy and Caravaggio, only joined Real Madrid this season. Wow, such a pure young boy lineup. Can these little guys handle it? Everyone was asking the question. Amidst the fans' anxious, almost suspenseful anticipation, in the 28th minute, Marcelo, the hot-headed youngster who had broke down Fiorentina striker Mutu in the previous match, continued to embody the tackling the player first, ball over player over style of Chinese football, ruthlessly bringing down Manchester United striker Little Meatball just outside Real Madrid's penalty area. The referee immediately rushed over, issuing Marcelo a yellow gem god card and awarding Manchester United a direct free kick. Fuck. All the Real Madrid fans covered their faces in groans. The television cameras deliberately focused on Real Madrid coach Lee Tongbiam, who was standing on the sidelines overseeing the game. Everyone wanted to know how this rookie coach would react to the young Brazilian Marcelo, who had made 2 consecutive fatal mistakes. Internationally recognized greetings starting with F and S from that big mouth behind those black glasses. But they were disappointed. Lee Tongbiam was clapping and giving a thumbs up to Marcelo, who was looking a bit timid on the field, as if it would be an injustice if Marcelo didn't do so. Well, we have to admit, Real Madrid's new head coach really cares a lot about young players, at least in this respect he's better than Rosenberg. Before the match, the Bernabeu commentator, who had been given the glorious but arduous task by the club's management to uphold the positive image of the team's head coach, racked his brains for a long time before finally finding a plausible reason to praise Tongfan. Manchester United's free kick was taken by the ever-reliable Welsh winger Ryan Giggs. The ball whistled through the air and nestled in the top right corner where the post met the crossbar. To paraphrase a certain Chinese commentator surnamed Huang, who became famous overnight at the recently concluded World Cup in Germany, this was an absolutely theoretical dead angle, and St. Casillas was powerless to turn the tide. The game continued, and in the 45th minute, Van Nistelrooy scored inside the penalty area to equalize for Real Madrid. In the 65th minute, Manchester United striker Gary Solskjaer received a pass from super sub Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and fired a low shot that found the back of Real Madrid's net. In the 70th minute, Robinho received the ball in midfield, dribbled past 3 Manchester United defenders, and unleashed a long-range shot from the edge of the penalty area. Van der Sar made a brilliant save, but a hero rushed out from the side and scored on the rebound. It was Higuaín. In the 88th minute, Solskjaer once again demonstrated his heroic qualities as a super sub, seizing a miscommunication between Real Madrid centre-backs Corluka and Caravaggio and scoring with a close-range shot. That's all. The match is over. Real Madrid lost 2-3. During the match, people were surprised to find that in addition to standing on the sidelines constantly encouraging the young players, the Real Madrid coach was also frequently taking pictures of the game with a high-end camera. Greed asked Tongfan curiously, "Lee, are you recording match data?" "There's no need. We can get the full video as soon as the match is over." Greed pointed to the cameras around the court. "There are cameras from all angles, which makes studying tactics easier than using photos." Is that so?" Tongfan put down his camera, and like a virgin whose secrets had been exposed, he answered hesitantly, "Oh, to be honest, Lao Gu, I would have forgotten if you hadn't reminded me." "Damn it, what tactics are you talking about?" "I just wanted to take some close-range photos of Manchester United stars to show off to those bastards back home." "Oh well, my hands were shaking so badly, the pictures turned out better than Picasso's abstract paintings." After considering his options, Tongfan angrily ended his secret filming plan. Real Madrid's first 4 preseason friendlies have concluded, with a record of 2 wins and 2 losses, scoring 5 goals and conceding 5. According to Tongfan, from a purely mathematical perspective, this is a perfect 50-50th split, with neither side owing the other anything. Unfortunately, the media and fans didn't buy it. Although the opponents in the warm-up matches were all strong, Real Madrid won 2 matches against the 4th and 3rd-to-last teams out of the 4 opponents. In contrast, they suffered defeats in the 2 real clashes against Inter Milan and Manchester United. Are we going to continue the bad habit of the past few seasons where we faltered when facing strong teams? That's not the outcome we want.